people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he crooks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump pile debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, they shall look today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden
This just in. A sudden spike in logic levels across the city. Citizens report seeing a man with glasses and a podcast mic. We go now live to Liberal Dan.
Yo, who you gonna call when Nazi writings on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, cause you know we got a plan. The right wing talking shit, but he ain't about to quit. He'll take his proton pack and zap your logic cause it's whack. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall.
It's being reported that Liberal Dan is setting up what appears to be some sort of straw man containment field.
He's calling out your lies with his mic, he'll vaporize. Cross the streams in your dreams, bitch, you know that he's too wise. You're like Slimer talking crap, but you walked into his trap. Yo, it's more than entertainment, it's misinformation contained. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. The Statue of Liberty, the writing you can see. So bring the huddled masses, it's a war of the classes. While Trump may think he's Vigo, Dan can cut through that ego. He's got the facts to prove him wrong, got that logic like Egon. Your logic is a ghost, cause you know this chick is toast. When you follow MTG, it's conspiracy, you'll see. There's no need to taser, he's got wit like Occam's razor. Liberal Dan cuts those lies with his Jewish-based laser.
It's unbelievable. Liberal Dan just used the literal dog whistle to lure a large group of internet trolls into what is being called a self-collapsing rhetoric singularity. In all my years of reporting, I've never seen anything like this.
So don't call to be a heckler, you ain't no Judge Rexler. He'll bust you like Scolary, cause your logic's looking hairy. Right-wing callers think they're cool, but they sounding just like Zool. You the dog, he the man, and yo, his name is Liberal Dan. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan.
Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk comes the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana. Welcome each and every one of you Danimals here to the show. Shouts out to everyone over on Twitch. We got a Trust at Every Game, Aaron or Villaby. And we also have over on YouTube, both of the Mod Squad, Aaron, Jolie, Josh, Jeff from just north of Uranus. Excuse me. Let's see, who else did I, Steve from across the pond.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
Molly, good to see you. So anyone else got a dance for that song? Asking for a friend. Which song? The Liberal Dan one or the other ones? You know, got to do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight, I guess. Well, you got to do the Trump dance, right? You got to do the double jerkin of the jerking other people's gherkin dance or whatever it is you want to call it. Because I mean, has someone not told him? I mean, he was out there today on day 12 of the Iran war, and he's out there today dancing to the YMCA, just doing his little stroking off Stephen Miller and Jeffrey Epstein, or was it Bill Clinton? Or he went down on Bill Clinton, was it? I don't know. But he's sitting there just double fisting it. It's just very interesting that nobody has told him how dumb and or suggestive. It got to the point where when I'm dealing with somebody who's just utterly stupid, I'm just like, do you imagine yourself being pleasured by the right hand or the left hand? Basically, because just when he does that dance, it's, hey, there you go. So, what's up, Jennifer? You have to miss a show today. Nephew's in town, family first. Of course, you could always watch it later, and we will be uploading at some point this week. I don't know if it'll be tonight or not, but Jennifer made a song using, I think, Sora or what it is or whatever, the same music generator that Demonox made the Ghostbusters theme song to. And I went ahead and made it a video, and I'm going to upload it to the channel as well. So if that could be something I could do for other people as well. This is the first attempt of doing it. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how people like it. And if maybe me making some AI stuff for y'all as well is something what you really want. What you really want. Just tell me what you want. What you really want. I will maybe work something out with that too. You never know. But Jennifer got to it first, so she gets the freebie. What's up, Teresa? Good to see you over in the YouTube chat. Thank you for joining us as well. There's plenty of stuff we could talk about as it pertains to the Iran. I want to say Iraq war, the Iran war, or stuff like that. We'll probably hit some of that more stuff tomorrow. I think because today, even though Wednesday's my OG day, at least my OG on YouTube day, it's probably the least attended show. So we might take this opportunity to maybe, do what I talked about the other day, and we are going to do what we talked about the other day, and watch at least some of the Ana Kasparian versus Pick Me Pearl debate. I mean, it's kind of long, so I don't know if we'll do the whole thing today. Maybe we'll do some of it today, some of it next week. I don't know. But we're going to do that. We're going to record a couple of live reaction videos to Unraveling Toxic Masculinity. And we'll talk about some other stuff as the topics go up, but we'll just play today's show by ear, so to speak. And if there's enough time, well, maybe we'll open up the phone lines too. I don't think she debated Pearl again, but I mean, this is the first time I guess I haven't even watched the whole thing. I've only seen a clip or two, and I just kind of put off doing it for a couple of days or weeks, or whenever I heard about it, I still put it off a little bit longer because I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? But you know what? I think there's probably going to be enough content there. The sad thing is, I'm probably going to find myself agreeing with Anna far more than I'm going to find myself, than I normally would agree with Anna, simply because of the fact that, she's a freaking TERF. But let's see, what was it that during had Biden done it, I trusted every game. I was like, imagine if Biden committed war crimes and bragged about it, all to distract from being Epstein's wingman for 25 years. So yeah.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play, but Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Josh is like, can we make fun of Marco Rubio's shoes? I don't know. I haven't seen the shoes. All I know is if he's not wearing the Trump sneakers, then he does not wearing good footwear. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so fun fact in this debate, Anna admits to not being a feminist. Well, that's a shocker. I mean, you know, I have points to make about Anna, some of the things that I actually thought of one today, but we'll see if she brings that the point up before I actually make that argument. And of course, we have a couple of different toxic masculinity manosphere type things. And then of course there's also, I didn't bring this one up as well, but I might as well bring it up as well just so we can talk about it, which is the Gen Z poll about women should obey. And so it's horrific. And part of this reason is, again, we'll get to it more specifically. Kind of we'll do the Anna thing first, and we'll go through maybe, if not all of it, well, maybe we'll go through half of it, the Anna versus Pearl thing, and then we'll talk about a little bit about the Gen Z versus, being wooed, I guess, by the manosphere, and then we'll do some reactions to the for unraveling toxic masculinity in that playlist. So, but it's absurd how you would think that the numbers would be going down with the amount of people who, actually are woke, instead of the people who are, when they mock woke, or when they say things like the woke right or whatever the fuck that is. You would think that as you get younger age groups, you're going to have more and more people being understanding and rejecting societal norms and traditional gender roles, and working to, make things better for everybody. But it doesn't seem like that's happening, at least amongst Gen Z men. So, wait, Josh goes, no, Trump gave him Florsheim's that are too big. Are they too big, or is his feet too small? I can't tell you. I don't know. It's hard for me to judge, because if I can't see his feet, they must not exist.
If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
All right, so Gen Z men aren't capable of thinking of cultural paradigms. They just want power and pride the easiest way. Says Super 390 for the first time chat. Probably a good point or whatever. But again, you would think that, a lot of the times, like, people would call the Gen Zers, like, kind of like, that's after millennials, right? That they, that they might be more likely to be, more left-leaning or whatever. But again, it just seems like they're, of course, I'm Gen X, and Gen X, nobody remembers us. Like, just like, there was one meme that's hysterical. That's basically like, who is the most neglected generation? Boomers, millennials, Gen Z, or Gen Y? And it's just like, what? That's the joke. But anyway, thunderstorms starting in Baton Rouge. Better start moving quickly. If they get down here to New Orleans, that could get power knocked out, and that wouldn't be a good thing. So, so stay safe. I keep forgetting that you live in Baton Rouge, Molly. You're probably maybe the closest listener to regular at least listener to Liberal Dan Radio, with the exception of Alan, who sometimes joins us in the chat, who is a New Orleanian as well. So I'm Gen X, and I don't even remember us as Jeff Curry. That's hilarious. Anyway, so let's go ahead. We're about 20 minutes into the show, so we can go ahead and start with this. I don't know if we actually want to watch the intros. I don't know. We might skip some of the intros. I don't know. We'll just have to see about that. But let's go ahead and just bring it up here. I think this is a better way to do it than and to make sure that in case we ever have to bring up Kash Patel, I can always bring that up here and cover everything with Kash Patel and his eyes. Just anyway. So I don't know what's scarier, Pick Me Pearl or Kash Patel. I go probably Kash Patel just by itty bitty bitty bit. Anyway, Jennifer, Gen X rocks, peace out. Anyway, so here we are with, there's Pick Me Pro, but I think Anna is going first. I don't know if they did rock, paper, scissors or some other more toxic form of TERF Pick Me and something else. TERF Pick Me Gen Z? Is that the game that you did? I don't know. Anyway, so let's go ahead and watch some of this. Again, the whole thing is like an hour and 15 minutes long, so I really don't know how much of this we'll actually watch today. Again, we might chop it up over 2 days. We might chop it up over 3 days. We'll see. And of course, Team Joel. Maybe it's Joel. It's TERF Pick Me Joel would be the third one. So, hey Roxanne, good to see you. Mostly lurking, eating egg rolls. I could go for some Chinese food right now. Just had a burger for dinner. It was funny because all of a sudden I smelled something cooking and I'm like, what is it that's cooking? And apparently my oldest son was like, I'm making myself a hamburger. And my wife was like, how'd you learn how to do that? And he was like, I watched Daddy do it. So I was like, wow, they actually paid attention to something that I did. That's amazing. I had a good effect on my kids being able to learn how to be self-sufficient and make their own meals, I guess. So after I said again, I also had a burger for dinner and now I'm hungry for Chinese food. Yes. Anyway, good to see you, Troll Slayer. I think I had missed, I didn't see that it was Troll Slayer that set that. So hey, Troll Slayer, how are you? Good to see you. Anyway. Let's go ahead and hear from Anna and old TERF Ana. Let's hear from TERF Ana and Pick Me Pearl, two of my favorite women who are not in my administration. I would not want to grab either of them, but still my favorite women who are not in my administration because they drive the liberals mad. Anyway, let's go.
Take it away. We got 5 minutes.
In a May 2024 appearance on Tim Pool's Culture War podcast, my opponent, Pearl Davis, declared that women aren't really doing much. We're not having kids. We're not really contributing to the economy when you look at output. In fact,
yeah, but when you look at putting out, that's all they're doing. That's all I want them to do because that's what the misogynist Gen Zers and the Trump supporter MAGA folks, they don't want output from women. They just want women to put out, right? I mean, that sounds like something probably Donald Trump would say before he grabbed somebody by the hoo-ha.
she uses this ridiculous assertion to argue that women should not have the right to vote. While it's
And that is she is actually making a true statement because I have seen Pick Me Pearl make several videos and actually wear shirts that say end women's rights to vote, end women's suffrage, or whatever it is, because whatever the shirts say on her shitty little store. Yeah, I mean, I should say shitty little store. She probably has much more sales than I do. But, you know, I don't know how many women are buying her toxic stuff from her store.
true the birth rate has declined, and we'll revisit that in a bit, women account for 47% of the American workforce. The Council of Economic Advisors found that women have contributed a substantial portion of the U.S. economic growth since 1970, which wouldn't have been made possible without the feminist movement. By 2017, women were responsible for nearly 40% of total gross domestic product, amounting to a whopping $7.6 trillion. Of course, that figure doesn't include the trillions of dollars in unpaid labor women do every year, tending to the household, raising children, and caring for ailing parents. And when it comes to
Look at her taking notes. Probably be like, you know, that's not work. That's what a woman's supposed to do. She's supposed to stay at home. That doesn't count as work. I'm sure that's something that Pick Me Pearl would say. Josh sees Dan should make an AI music video about Joel the spitting fish. Maybe. If I have the credits, I will. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Damn it, Dan, you're making me side with Anna. Look, when it comes to those two people, I mean, who are you most likely going to agree with? And I mean, I'm not saying Pick Me Pearl is not even a stopped clock because she's probably never right. If she is, it's by accident. Anna will still say some things that I agree with. It's just, you know, she's gone off the deep end when it comes to, you know, trying to get more people watching Young TERFs. So, you know, she'll say things that attract the Gen Z men, you know, and like, you know, with anti-trans stuff and all the other fun stuff, like being opposed to affirmative action or something.
certain sectors of our economy, women are a dominant and indispensable force. Like in the healthcare industry, where they make up nearly 80% of workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's 16.4 million women. When it comes to education, in 1960, women earned less than 35% of all bachelor's degrees.
And really, the only reason I want to listen to her intro, because I'm sure most of the things that will be said in her intro I'm not going to refute. Or maybe I'll just make some silly Donald Trump jokes or whatever. But I want to see how Pearl responds to her. Like, what straw man arguments are Pearl going to bring up? Will Pearl bring up? Good, easy English for me to speak, huh? How will she erect the straw man to counteract whatever it is that Anna says? Because I'm sure probably half of Pearl's comments are probably going to be in response to Anna's and not her own opening statement. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Today, they earn roughly 58% of all bachelor's degrees, which Pearl herself benefited from after graduating from Elmhurst University. Women also earn over 60% of master's degrees. I hope to hear Pearl explain how
she's probably going to make some argument like, oh, but half of the degrees are in, women's studies or liberal arts or useless degrees, and then they just go work at Starbucks, or the typical, stupid Republican argument that basically, makes knowledge about things a laughable thing and mocking people for having knowledge and understanding about things that aren't necessarily profitable but are still good things to know, because the right wing tends to reject intellectualism. But let's continue.
A more educated and skilled population somehow translates to cultural decline.
Uh-oh, she said the word trans. I told you. It's the left. They want trans for everyone. As I said, I'm going to be probably making a lot of Trump jokes when I can, because, got to fill the void somehow, right?
Especially as we compete with China in this increasingly multipolar world. The modern feminist movement also had a major impact on decreasing domestic violence, and that's according to the U.S. Department of Justice.
There should be more violins, not less violins. If you know, you know. Anyway, let's continue.
Rates of intimate partner violence decreased by more than 60% from 1994 to 2010. And that's thanks to protective order statutes and funding for shelters beginning in the 1970s and 80s.
How much you want to bet that Pearl goes, there would be less violence against women if women would just, listen and obey what their men say? I mean, that's not what I think, clearly. But how much do you want to bet that that's something that was going to come out of Pearl's mouth? Because, again, I haven't watched this. I only know of its existence, and I wanted to be just as, shocked, or maybe not shocked, as at what they're saying as the rest of y'all who might not have seen it. So, anyway, let's continue.
Not only did the two-income household become more financially resilient, especially during economic downturns, women gained the ability to leave abusive relationships, an outcome correlated with improved child health and educational attainment.
And I don't know if she's going to bring this up yet or not, but the women gaining the right to vote enabled women to have a voice in what goes on in government, which then allowed or required politicians then have to listen to what women had to say, because they are now a voting bloc. And once women had the right to vote, there is a direct correlation between women getting the right to vote and better child care health outcomes. People had better access and more access to quality child care, to be able to make sure that the kids get, treatment, to make sure that the kids get medicine, to make sure that there are just at least things that we could understand on how to better take care of your children and make sure that they stayed healthy. So with better, ways to make sure that they're clean and knowledgeable about the importance of making sure that your, kids get regular baths and stuff like that. You wouldn't think you need to know that, but then again, we were not as enlightened as we are today, even though one might question with our current president how enlightened we really are. But still, women's suffrage has caused a lot of things that benefit society, including what she just said and beyond.
A culture that protects people.
Wait, Impeccable Living is here.
Oh my.
Good to see you, Impeccable Living. Anyway, let's continue.
From violence is not one that's indicative of cultural decline. Pearl herself has benefited greatly from the feminist movement, thanks to Title IX in 1972, signed by Nixon, of course. Sex-based discrimination in any school program.
I regret passing that law. Anyway, sorry. I do it better, Richard Nixon, but I don't want to do too much shaking because my earbuds might fall out.
Program or activity that receives federal funding is prohibited. Pearl herself had a rather impressive record playing for Elmhurst University's volleyball team, having earned all conference honors as a senior. She later pursued professional volleyball in London. She could have stayed in the United States and served in her role as a traditional woman, but she didn't. And she could have been the traditional chaste woman living out her dream of everything women were supposed to do before feminism, but she is neither traditional nor chaste by her own admission.
I would not chase her. I would not chase her. Oh wait, that's not what they mean by chaste. Sorry.
While feminists would have no problem with her personal choices, she has made a career bashing women for theirs.
I don't think I realized just how tall she was. And then once she said, oh, she was on a volleyball team, I'm like, wow, she's kind of towering over Anna right there. I guess maybe she was, I don't know what the appropriate position on the volleyball court would be, but she's actually pretty darn tall.
Critics often argue that modern feminism has weakened families and...
Hey, Petrazi, Pearl really doesn't make a good point in this debate. I mean, there's a reason why I'm playing it, because I never expect Pearl to make any good points in any debates or any videos that she makes, because she represents the toxic masculinity and supports the manosphere, and is basically one of the few loud women voices in support of the manosphere that they love to have her on, just so she can, you know, rubber stamp their views. So absolutely, I mean, I fully expect me to be able to hit lots of softballs over the fence as it pertains to anything that she says. Ooh, excuse me, got a little indigestion or whatever going on.
Resulted in a lower birth rate. They tend to dismiss empirical evidence demonstrating the insidious impact of the internet, social media on modern relationships.
God damn the internet. I mean, we can't have any good things because of the internet, except for Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
They also brush economic
and House Sparks Mega Worldwide and other various good shows that are out there.
Instability under the rug, despite young people...
Trucker John, who is Pearl? Pearl is Pearl Davis. She has Just Pearly Things, I think, is her YouTube channel, and she is basically a pick-me as it pertains to, you know, her standing up and fighting for the things that the manosphere want. Like, she goes on the whatever podcast, she goes on that Fresh and Fit podcast, she goes on plenty of, I'm sure she's been on Joe Rogan, she's been on various other shows, and she has her own show, but, you know, which kind of seems hypocritical because, you know, again, but as Anna pointed out, she often does things that are hypocritical and contrary to the things that she actually advocates for. So, but good to see you, Trucker John. Good. Thank you for joining.
Citing their personal finances as the main reason why they're holding off on marriage in the first place. In lieu of discussing those factors, Pearl spends much of her time discouraging men from getting married in the first place. During her debate with Trent Horn, she declared that men are better off shacking up without ever getting married. Her reasoning? Women are too fat and STD infected.
25%, that's a lot.
You did say that. She didn't stop to think about...
she's violating the rules. She's interrupting. You know. I mean, since Anna went first, she has to be the first one to get the opportunity to interrupt.
About how they contracted the STDs in the first place. Boring. Data from the National Library of Medicine show that modern men are just as promiscuous as modern women. Men and women...
Oh, did she run out of time? ...are
in bad shape, and in the United States, we can discuss why, but feminism is not the reason.
Very good. Thank you.
But see... Here's the thing, you know, time ran out, but she kept talking, as, you know, one typically does in a debate, and that's fine, but I wonder if she would have stopped talking as soon as she said time. I wonder if the Republicans would have said, oh, Anna must have something mentally deficient with her because she stops talking in the middle of the sentence. Kind of like, you know, what they did with Biden. Anyway, let's hear what old Pick Me Pearl has to say, shall we?
Nice job. Okay, Pearl. We got 5 minutes, you're going to be on the clock, and let's go.
Most debaters and commentators are elitists who tell average Americans from their ivory towers what to think and how to feel. My answer to this question not only comes from covering current events and researching the facts, data, and statistics,
Yeah, okay.
but also in my professional experience interviewing over 1,000 people in America and Western nations. Feminism has given women power, and power corrupts.
All right. Power does corrupt. That is true. But, I mean, how much power? I mean, going from zero power to having some power isn't having power. Like, that's going from, like, I have no power to I have some power isn't, like, corrupting, because you still have the other people with much more power, aka the people that run patriarchal crap.
And that's what's happening. Feminism is robbing men of their disposable income and their prime earning years.
What? How is feminism robbing men of disposable income? Feminism creates, back when you didn't have feminism and women had to stay home, the disposable income that men would have to pay would have to be all on, maybe wooing somebody to try and get them to marry. Of course, women wouldn't be able to have such high standards as maybe they do today, simply because of the fact that, if they didn't get married, then guess what? You're going to be, living in a house with a bunch of cats, or your best friend for years if you don't happen to swing that way. And, people didn't want to admit what people were back then when they were, in same-sex relationships. But, now that women have jobs and can work out in the workforce and are approaching equal pay. I mean, we're not quite there yet, even though equal pay is technically the law. Even women are approaching equal pay. And so they can actually afford things for their own and don't have to rely on dudes to do as much. Like, I remember one of my first dates with one of my first girlfriends when I was in high school. It was just like, she was like, I want to pay, you pay for dinner, I'll pay for the movies. I'm like, okay. I wasn't going to argue with her, and, Cassie, when we first started dating, she took me out, several times as well. It's not, I don't know where she gets these crazy ideas, but, again, but the things that she say, they're not meant to be truthful. The things that she says are meant to draw the Gen Zers and the other young white men folks, and maybe some other non-white men as well, but to draw young, cisgendered, heterosexual males to her show to cheer her on and buy her merch and give her views. So,
Feminism
easy for her to say.
Has empowered women. It has empowered women to be sexually promiscuous.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh my.
Okay, I mean, okay, so, and men have always been able to be that way, and again, they're double standards, but, it is what it is, right?
Feminists say that they fought for women to not subject themselves to the approval of men. Why then are 5 to 10% of women between the ages of 18 to 25 on OnlyFans or other prostitution websites?
Wait, what was that? What was that figure?
Is robbing men of their disposable
gotta hear that
income
again.
in their prime earning years.
And thank you, Alyosha, for the bits.
Feminism has empowered women. It has empowered women to be sexually promiscuous. Feminists say that they fought for women to not subject themselves to the approval of men. Why then are 5 to 10% of women between the ages of 18 to 25?
I don't believe that statistic whatsoever. Like, where that is a rectally sourced statistic.
On OnlyFans or other prostitution websites. There are more online prostitutes in America than female Walmart employees. 1 of 3.
Again, where is she getting this information? Let's do a little bit of a Google search. Say, how many women aged 18 to 25 are on OnlyFans? Let's see. They did the math according to Reddit. Let's see. It's probably not very reliable as a figure. Data seems to stem from a report from Washington Examiner, written a year ago, which found that of the 3 million creators on the platform, 67% of the revenue goes to Americans. They're extrapolating that because Americans make up 2/3 of the revenue on the platform, that they must make up 2/3 of the creators, thus, of course, being totally wrong if there are a number of high-earning American accounts making disproportionate amounts of revenue compared to non-U.S. creators. Consider that some of the top accounts make over $10 million a month. The numbers can easily be skewed by that. So, yeah, there you go. Just go to Reddit, and they did the math. to be able to figure that out. Yeah, and that's absurd. And so, again, more rectally sourced statistics from Pick Me Pearl.
Women will catch an STD at some point in their lifetime. 90% will catch HPV, which is incurable. Feminism has empowered women to abort 1/8 of the world population and 1/3 of Gen Z.
If you're not counted in a census, you can't be part of the world's population, so therefore an abortion you can't abort the world's population because they were never counted in the first place. But, you know, again, more rectally sourced information. And the whole STI thing, how are these individuals getting their STIs, mind you? Again, Anna was trying to make this point earlier. It's simply the fact that, you know, they must have gotten it from somebody. And of course, some of the people may very well be other women because, you know, there are women who have sexual activities with other women, right? However, you know, a lot of them are getting it from who? Men! So,
feminists have been so empowered to commit paternity fraud. Paternity fraud is unpunished in any state in the USA or any country in the West. If done correctly, a man will have to pay for a child he was fooled into believing was his until that child reaches maturity. In some states...
What? I mean, I'm not mature. I mean, past 50? I mean, I'm not really that mature, am I? But, you know... But I guess she means up to the age of 18, or maybe even larger, or maybe even older, because I guess you can be on your parents' health insurance, like because of the Affordable Care Act, because it's 27. But still, again, if you're a guy and you don't want to pay child support for a child that, you know, might or might not be yours, and again, these rectally sourced figures, I don't quite know where she's getting all those figures from, but look, make sure that you don't sleep with people who you might not want to pay child support with to have their kids, or when they have your kids, or whatever. And if you're that worried about it, get a paternity test. Simple as that. You can ask for a paternity test if you really don't think the child is yours. Simple as that. So anyway.
That man will also have to pay for that kid's college. That is slavery and is forbidden under the 13th Amendment. 1/3 of paternity tests are negative by the American Association of Blood Banks. Feminism has empowered women.
1/3 of paternity tests are negative, and how does that correlate to people being told that, you know, are having to pay this money out that they don't have to pay or shouldn't have to pay? Like, look, I don't believe you should have to pay for a child that isn't yours, but that being said, this whole idea that this is an epidemic proportion of people who are, you know, having to pay for the kids that aren't theirs is just absurd, and again, rectally sourced.
To rob men of their time, their resources, their reputation, their children, and in the most extreme cases, their lives.
What, like the one that burned himself on fire outside the courthouse because he was forced to pay child support for a kid that was his? And of course, there's a couple of the dudes who are all Pick Me Pearl fans.
They do this through child support, alimony, false allegations, and paternity fraud. How many people in this...
Wait, so now she's combining this. So now child support is also stealing. Child support is slavery. Again, like legitimate child support. So not just paternity fraud, but child support is also now stealing too? Like, come on. If you want to make sure that you are not paying child support to pay for a kid that's genetically yours, then make sure to keep full-on control of your emissions.
This arena have a brother, a father, an uncle, or a friend who has gone through this meat grinder. Anna has been on the air for 15 years and is completely oblivious to these issues. It's a silent genocide of the lives of millions of men.
It's a silent genocide. What?
Standing on the sidelines of the arena, I have 33-year combat veteran Terrence Popp. He served through 3 wars and was almost killed in 2. He got married, had 2 children, and served in the United States Army. Terrence Popp was deployed to Iraq in 2004 and as a member of the airborne infantry, he was wounded by a roadside bomb and suffered a TBI and a stroke from the blast. He was evacuated out of the country, and it took over 2 years until he had recovered. While he was recovering, his wife was plotting to divorce him. His wife murdered his 6-year-old chocolate lab out of spite because he filed for divorce first. When he confronted her, the response he got was, "I told you I did not want you living here."
I mean, if true, that's a terrible human being and who should be in prison for murdering a dog, and it's good that he got rid of her. But again, this is what conservatives do. Like, look, I had this, little thing that we had, with Nick Driver. If you noticed the video that was posted today, it's the first in the series of videos, the political tower of power, where me and Nick went back and forth trying to guess each other categories. Go check it out after the show. It was a fun little video to make. But afterwards we were having a conversation. I don't know how much of it he's going to post on his channel or not, because some of it was recorded, some of it was not. But one of the things that was talked about was just, how the difference between the left and the right is. And the left will look at a horrible, one person or a horrible small group of people and say, these people are terrible, and that's it. The right will look at the same group of people and say, those group of people are part of a larger group of people. Let's blame all of those people for that. There's no feminist out there that's going to sit here and support what that woman allegedly did to her husband, or her ex-husband, I guess at this point. Not one is going to support that. But that's what these people do. They vilify entire groups of people because of the actions of an extreme minority and an extreme few. And you might wonder, why is it that we're watching this the guy is a wounded hero? Why is it that we're talking about, Anna with her horrible things and that she has said, and Pick Me Pearl, who's even worse? It's because we have to combat these things. We have to deal with these things. We have to confront them, because when the young folks, like the Gen Zers, who think that a third of whom think that women should obey their partners and support these bullshit traditional gender roles, we have to be a voice out there. By not having a strong presence on the net to combat these toxic people, we have allowed these toxic people to to infect and infiltrate the minds of the young cis heterosexual men. We've allowed them to be swayed and to believe these falsehoods and to think that it's okay to take bad behaviors of a few and project them on the entire group that we would like to say that they're a part of, or that they would like to say that these people are a part of. That's why we need to combat this. That's why we need to do videos like this, like the Unraveling Toxic Masculinity series that we have, that we're going to do a couple of reactions to that as well later on in the show. That's why we need to do this, because we need to explain. One of the reasons I created, some of you have heard this before, one of the reasons that I created Unraveling Toxic Masculinity and that playlist is simply because I don't want to be in a situation like when I started doing those videos, like I was 150 pounds heavier. I didn't know how long I might live. I didn't know how long I might be able to have in my boy's life. And I wanted to be able to leave something for my kids that they could watch and they could look and see, look, all these shitty things you're seeing these guys say on the internet, this is how your dad would respond to that. And how I want to make sure that you know right from wrong as it pertains to this bullshit that they're spreading. Now, fortunately, I'm losing weight. I'm getting healthier. And hopefully, I will live to see them grow very old and give me grandkids or whatever. That being said, we need more people getting up and fighting this toxicity that people like Pick Me Pearl and the podcast that she goes on talk about and spread daily.
At this point, he was forced to leave the marital home and live out of his car. The divorce took away his home, his children, and left him penniless and saddled with a child support payment he could not afford. Terrence had to pay...
I mean, if I were him, I would have sued for custody, right?
$144,000 over a 12-year period for a divorce that his wife was empowered by feminists to plan and execute. Terrence went into court to fight for...
So what, she shouldn't have been able to get a divorce. So what you're saying is that she should not have been able to leave. and he should not, that they should have been forced to remain married, that he should have been forced to remain married to this horrible individual that he was married to because you support these traditional gender roles or whatever, like, you're not making any sense.
50-50 custody. Terrence was called a murderer and an assassin in open court and was given 96 hours a month with his children. 96 hours a month is not a father. While homeless, he spoke to many other men who would never get off the streets due to child support arrearages and penalties, and the men constantly getting arrested for unpaid child support. The disparage of losing his children and his home, and his PTSD and constant pain from his wounds, he became suicidal. While at his post in 2008, a former commander of his came to see him to secretly say his last goodbyes. The next day, Mr. Pop's former commander put on his dress blues and went to the Holy National Veterans Cemetery and blew his brains out. Terrence Pop was notified of the death and was shocked because he was planning to commit suicide in the exact same manner. So in effect, his former commander took the bullet that was meant for him. Terrence Pop decided he would not kill himself and has spent the last 20 years saving 576 men from suicide with comedy.
Okay, and that's good for that he's doing this, but why is this relevant to this? This has nothing to do with feminism. Again, you want to take this story, and you've spent like minutes now on this story, and I'm not saying it's a false story, but I'm saying you're spending many minutes on this one particular individual's case, and again, nothing that happened here was the fault of feminism. It's a logical fallacy to suggest that this had anything to do with feminism whatsoever. So
if you look to the left of the stage, Terrence is holding the dog tags for every life that he has saved. Now, why am I telling you this? Shout out to Terrence. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I would question that he's doing is like the fact that he's now helping Pick Me Pearl do her Pick Me Pearl shit. That's the only problem that I have right now with him, is that he's helping Pick Me Pearl do Pick Me Pearl shit. He is helping to, to help her fight feminism and to reinstall back archaic gender roles.
Now, why am I telling you this? Because men and American veterans are put in this position because of the empowerment that feminists like Anna have pushed for.
Wrong, sorry.
There are millions of men that have died in this country from the political power that feminism pushes since 1970, an estimated.
Why won't we think about the men? How many women suffered under abuse before feminism enabled them to be able to escape abusive relationships? How many women had to just stay with that abuse because there was no place else for them to go? How many people how many of these women suffered at the hands of abusive men before feminism was able to actually get gains in this society and give the missing power that women didn't have, yet they should have, to be able to protect themselves? That's what you're missing. Yeah. Are there shit women? Absolutely, there are shitty women. That doesn't mean that feminism is to blame for them being shitty.
1.6 million men have committed suicide.
Time. Stop there.
If feminists cared about
time, and then she keeps going.
Equality, why aren't they fighting for equality in divorce and family court as hard as they are?
Many of them do, and there's actually data that shows, again, one of the things that these people talk about is how that there's inequity in custody hearings. But in reality, when you have situations where the man actually wants to step up and wants to be involved, the courts will believe the man and will grant joint custody. A lot of the time, it's these men who aren't wanting to be full-time participants in their children's lives, and they're complaining not because they don't have the time, they're complaining because they're now having to support a child that they helped to create. That's what they're complaining about. And then they'll use well, if I'm paying this money, I shouldn't have to go long without seeing my kids, but you're viewing your kids as a burden, not as something that is a joy to have in your life. That's the problem.
Fighting for abortion, working, or becoming sex workers.
And abortion means that there's fewer individuals who are going to have to pay child support for these kids that are unwanted. So you would, to me, you would support abortion. Which way do you want it, conservatives? Which way do y'all want it? Do you want fewer abortions, causing then to have more children who need to have child support paid for them, and then you get to complain more about the child support? Or are you going to have, do you want more abortions and fewer child support payments? And this is one of the things that a lot of the men on the manosphere side will do. They will start making an argument of, I should get to have a say in whether or not my partner has an abortion. They should say this, that, the other. I want to say. I should have a say. Well, if I get somebody pregnant and if they want to have an abortion, I should be able to tell them, no, you can't because it's my kid. But they don't say the argument because they're actually pro-life. They say that argument because they know at some point in the conversation, they're going to say, okay, well, fine. I will grant you the ability to have the abortion, but I shouldn't have to pay any child support. Because they want consequenceless sex. And I mean, granted, many of these people who are arguing about this are mad, angry, hammering away at their keyboards, from their parents' basements and have never even touched a woman in their lives. But,
Thank you.
Okay, this is gonna be a heavy one. We're gonna go now to the opening interrogations. We have 10 minutes. Do we have that on the clock? Yeah.
No, well, they didn't, but now they do.
It's fading in right there. Okay, and take it away. 10 minutes.
Who's interrogating who?
Whoever wants to begin.
Aside from the specific anecdote that you shared, which of course is tragic, can you cite some actual studies that look at the statistics?
Yeah, God damn it. Why do I have to say yes, Pearl? Why do I have to say yes, Anna? Good point. Thank you, Anna, for saying that. Maybe I am making a mistake here by having to agree with Anna on things. But, I mean, yeah, we all knew that Anna was going to be on the more correct side of this debate than Pearl was ever going to be, so.
And back up what you say in regard to the outcomes of marriage and divorce in America.
41% of 109 rape cases reported to police in a Midwestern city were...
That study is so full of shit. I already know where she's going with it. That is such a flawed study. There's no evidence that shows that false accusations of rape happen at any greater rate than any other false accusations of any other crime. And even if that study was correct, one study is an outlier and it does not prove the point. But they're always going to cherry pick that one shitty study instead of looking at all of the other evidence that says exactly the opposite of what they're trying to say with this study.
Admitted to be false by complaints.
In one Midwestern city? And which Midwestern city was that?
You can go from your ivory tower and
I'm not in an ivory tower. I'm on this debate stage interrogating your assertions, and you've only provided an anecdote.
Right.
Because if you look at the data, which I did, of course, you'll find that women are twice as likely to fall into poverty after divorce.
Right, because they can't
Alimony
stop
is
spending.
paid out in 10% of divorces. According to the Census Bureau, the average child support payment is $441 a month, and only 60% of those payments get paid out.
How much?
Women do not get child custody 90% of the time, as you have asserted before. In fact, 95% of custody cases are mutually agreed upon outside of the courtroom. Women get...
I mean, it's true. I mean, the custody agreement between my parents, I mean, again, this is anecdotal, but I don't think there was a court that made them have to say, this is what the agreement is. They came to an agreement, and they settled on it, and that's how it was. They didn't need courts to argue with it. Now, I don't know about all the child support, whatever took place, and what. Sometimes that can be set by what your income is, but still, again, more points for Team Anna. Ugh.
Full custody, 40% of the time. Men do get full custody 20% of the time, and 40% of the time it's shared custody, which I think is the ideal situation, assuming that neither spouse is abusive.
And Pearl, excuse me, before you respond, if you could take your microphone out and hold it, it would be easier to hear you.
Okay.
You're too tall, Pearl. Grab that microphone. Are we going to hear like, squeak? as she puts it too close to her mouth, not because of anything feedback, but because it's yelling because it doesn't want to be that close to her.
Alimony and medical care and dental are not covered by that, so a lot of times it does go above 50%. Again, you can go through the...
I was thinking that. I was thinking that the child support payment may not take into consideration whatever is paid towards other things that are like medical, dental, and stuff like that. But that's also partially sometimes subsidized by whatever. And of course, if you have, you know, the wherewithal to, you know, think, hey, you know, this is my overall impact. But again, it's not the numbers that she's saying. The numbers that she's saying, again, are rectally sourced.
Facts, the data, and the statistics and manipulate them any way that you want.
It's not
That's exactly what you're doing, Pearl. Every conservative accusation is a confession.
There are
Those are the
1.6
stats.
million. There are 1.6 million men in this country.
Impeccable living. I had a pregnancy scare at Burning Man and then had to get my life back together.
Oh my.
Did you have too much ayahuasca or whatever at Burning Man as well? Was that the cause of the scare?
9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
Compared to women, what's the number for women?
It's lower.
Really? What
It's lower.
is it? Comparative analysis is real difficult for you, isn't it?
Okay.
But yeah, you know, even 9 times more. Like, but what's the percentage? Is it like 1% versus 9%? And what else are you looking at? Again, rectally sourced.
Go ahead, Pearl.
What's your next question?
You have asserted that men shouldn't get married, that instead they should shack up.
I didn't say that.
You did say that with
did
Trent
not say
Horn. Word for word, you said it makes more sense for them to shack up,
Jeff Curry, be right back. I'm going to go do some dishes.
live with a girlfriend
Get back in the kitchen, Jeff, where you belong.
instead of getting married. Do you think the advice that you give to men is the type of advice that will fulfill their lives? Because I'll tell you one thing, the best part of my life,
the best part of waking up is telling Pearl to shut up.
Is my husband. I love my husband. He's my rock. He's my foundation.
And he clearly puts up with a lot of crap if he's married to Ana Kasparian. Welcome. Welcome, P-Dubs. How are you tonight?
And no, my husband is number one. I love my career, but you know what my career did? When I met my husband, my career was already established. He, on the other hand, was couch surfing, he was in debt, and didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. I married him anyway. You want to know why? Because I had the economic freedom to marry for love, not for some Chad to take care of me.
How tall is he?
How tall is he? How is that at all relevant? If she says 6'3", I'm going to laugh.
Oh, he's 6'1", about your height.
Okay, 6'1", not 6'3".
None, I don't want kids.
Let's not do shouting questions from there, please. Allow these two to debate each other.
Okay, because the men can't learn to shut up and let the women speak, right? Just let the women speak.
Okay,
She should be like, shut up, honey, the women are talking.
what's your question?
I mean, you don't really have much to answer, so I don't know what else to ask you. Do you think you're helping men by discouraging them from entering fulfilling marriages?
But yeah, and that's the weird thing. If she's telling men to not get married, if she's saying, she's not claiming that she's in it, but I've heard her say this on other shows as well, that she doesn't believe it's a good idea for men to get married. I guess at least in the society that she views, the straw man of society that she's built up. But if she wants people to have more traditional roles, then why the hell wouldn't she be saying you should get married and you should find yourself somebody who will fit these traditional roles and blah, 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 blah.
What happens to men if they don't pay child support?
I mean,
What happens? What happens, Anna?
how many men do you think get
What
arrested?
happens to
I don't know
men
what the
when they
number
don't
is.
get-
But the
What
idea that
happens
there's
to
like a
men when
huge
they
number
don't-
of men getting arrested for not doing what they're supposed to do
15%.
and take care of their children, it's not a huge issue.
What happens to men when they don't
Really,
pay child support?
only
You
60%
gotta-
of child
hold on,
support payments
Anna.
get paid out.
You got to allow her to interrogate you, not them. You got to stop yelling questions at her.
You can minimize men's problems all you want, but I don't think you understand how privileged of a position you're in.
Oh, because, the women privilege, female privilege, huh? Is that what you're talking about?
In what way? How am I privileged?
Men are the ones that are on the hook for child support. Men are the ones.
There are women who pay child support.
that are on the hook for alimony. It's easy for you to tell.
And when you have a society where you have a pay gap, where in a vast majority of professions that men get paid more than women for equal experience and whatever, still, you know, you are going to have men being, again, this is why these people are so stupid. Because if you actually had feminism get fully entrenched in society to actually get the goals that, you know, feminists wants to have, where you have absolute equal pay, that there's no wage gap for any earnings, that all you're making is based off of your education level and your experience, and skill levels, and that's the only thing that comes into play, and gender plays no part of it. If that's the only thing that was there, and then you people could actually, you know, not have to be reliant on, like, you know, somebody else to make a living. Like, if you had those, and you had, you know, men who are not viewed as the de facto providers and women as the de facto child raisers, if you saw that men and women and everybody else who was involved in raising had an equal role in raising that kid, like, if you actually saw that happening, you know, all of these problems that you believe exist would go away. Because you wouldn't have these discrepancies that you see, that you're claiming to exist. Now, even as they claim to exist, they still don't exist as they claim them to be, but any issues that anybody might have will be lessened because of the fact that you have a society that truly treats people as equal. But when you have a society and you push for a society like people like Pick Me Pearl do, if you push for a society that require women to be subservient to men, then of course women are going to be viewed as the de facto child raisers, and then men as the de facto child providers, because that's the artificial world that you've created. Let's continue.
And tell men to just take the risk when you're not in that position.
So are you asserting that men shouldn't pay child support following a divorce? Do you believe that women should be financially responsible 100% after a divorce?
Feminists wanted to be equal.
Right, equal means equal. Equal doesn't mean you don't get to pay for your share of the children that you helped create. That's not equal. Like, again, conservatives have one tool in their main arsenal, which is straw man arguments.
Say be equal. If you guys want equality, 50-50 custody, no child support, no alimony, no special privileges.
50-50 custody doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have no child support, because of the fact that you still have to maintain the needs of the kids. And if you had a situation where, you know, the person was, you know, one of the parents were stuck at home having to raise the kid or whatever, while the other one was out earning a living, then that person isn't going to have the same work experience, and as such is going to have a much more difficult time getting an equal salary level. So the amount of contribution that should be paid for the child's well-being and care for all of the things that they need, food, clothes, shelter, healthcare, etc., should be paid for at a proportionate rate based on how much each of them contributes or earns overall. Right? So, of course, she's not going to say I'm right, because my facts are too facty for her. My facts are not rectally sourced.
Out in 10%
It doesn't
of
matter
divorces.
if you're part of the
It does
10%.
matter. It does matter, because you make it seem like it's a widespread issue when it's only 10%.
The 10 years doctrine is a sexist law against men. That's sexist.
How is it sexist if a woman decided to forego a career, decided to be a stay-at-home mother, and the marriage doesn't work out, she has no job, she has no income, so you think it's unfair to get support from her ex-husband so she can raise the kids, so she can pay?
60% of kids under 5 have daycare. Daycare is an option now. You wanted to...
And the people that contribute to the daycare should be again proportionate to what the parents make. Simple.
Be men.
Do you know how much daycare costs?
You wanted to be men. Here you
Do you know
have
how much
it.
daycare?
Nobody wanted to be men. Only people that want to be men are men, and only people that want to be women are women. And folks who are non-binary want to be non-binary.
Costs. Do you think it's free?
Let her answer.
A lot of things are expensive, Anna. I mean, it's
That's
men.
That's not an answer.
Women have 85% of consumer spending.
This is what makes me mad. Pearl's arguments are so bad, yet she has such a following. Like, how the hell does somebody this stupid, who makes these illogical arguments, I mean, I understand. I mean, most of the people that I'm sure she gets support from, at least on the American side of things, probably are MAGA supporters, probably supported Donald Trump, and support the same type of candidates if, you know, you're over in England or any place else that she might be, have viewers or whatever. Like, but that the fact that she's able to get this much support for being this dumb is just whatever. And then you have other people who are far more intelligent than her, who have a tiny little fraction of the support that this idiot gets. I guess idiots in large numbers can do amazingly horrible things.
Women spend money all the time. You spend money on hair dye, you spend money on Botox.
Men spend money on hair dye. Men spend money on cosmetic things all the time as well.
You spend money.
And maybe women wouldn't have to spend money on hair dye or whatever if they were made to, if we didn't have a society that said women have to look a particular way or else they're viewed as lesser. Their value is based off of their look. So stop trying to treat women as if they have value based on only what they look like. And of course, some men are gonna be like, "Oh, what about men? Men, you know, women only want high value men." Blah blah blah. Again, stop treating people as only what they look like. But men are often by society not viewed simply just how they look, because you have schlubs of men like our president who still managed to get in positions of power. Nothing to do with what he looks like, but just the fact that he is a man and he's wealthy and he's able to have power. Whereas women in the same thing, I didn't remember who said it. But again, if there were two men on this stage, I missed who said it in the chat. But I saw that it was said. Somebody says like, "Oh, honey, how are you dressed?" is what the person who said. And look, I love all of you. Y'all are great. But when you say something in chat that I disagree with, I'm going to have to stand up and say something about it, or sit down and say something about it. How Pearl looks has nothing to do with what she is saying, with the content of what she is actually espousing. And if you had two men up on stage, nobody would be like, "Oh, what are you wearing, sweetie? What are you wearing, doll?" I mean, Impeccable Living might, but they're not going to look at two guys up on stage and be like, "Oh, those shoes with that tie is just disastrous." Meanwhile, you're saying, what is it that you're wearing? What she's wearing has nothing to do with what is being said that's coming out of her mouth. And that's why we live in the society that we do. This is why women have to spend more money on like hair care products, because they're going to be judged eternally on what they look like much more than men are. And men, they'll focus more on what men say and not what they wear. So, yes, women are going to have to, until you eliminate this whole idea that women have to look a particular way, or else you're going to have people having to spend that money to make sure that they can compete in this patriarchal society that we have. I'm glad you appreciated my joke, Impeccable Living.
You should think about it. I sure am.
Oh.
You spend money.
At least she admits it.
All of the time.
Yep.
So you want.
What was the Chris Rock? Women be shopping. Like, come on, man.
Wanted to be men. Here it is. You're equal.
That's something that Pearl says all the fucking time. At least you want to be men. No, it's not you want to be men. It's we don't want to be treated differently because we're women, is what women are saying. At least that's what feminists are saying. And again, small mind doesn't understand simple concepts. Let's continue.
Pay for daycare.
Equality means that when you have a child or children, you're both responsible. So the idea that the woman should take 100% of the costs on herself without any help from her husband or ex-husband is ridiculous.
Yep.
How is that fair?
Well, how is it fair that he doesn't get 50-50 custody?
Well,
she already said that 40%, again, 40%, was it 40% that do? Or is it 20 or 40? I don't know.
First of all, why are you asserting that they don't?
It's 50% his DNA. Why can't he have 50% custody?
He should be able to, and he should fight for it. Unless, again, as Anna said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but as Anna said, if as long as neither of the parents have some sort of abusive problems, that they should get 50-50 custody. But I know situations of 50-50 custody where the ex-husband, actually got to manipulate the system more because he had more money. So therefore he could manipulate the system and get what he wants. So he could move to another part of town. And in order for my friend to be able to spend more time with her child. She now had to move north of the lake to be able to go live closer to her son so that she could spend more time. The judge didn't tell him, you can't move. But the judge will tell other people, you can't move because you can't take this child away. But because it was the guy was able to move, and she had to go move to go be with him. And she still works in New Orleans. So that's a 30-minute commute back and forth at least, maybe even more, actually probably even more. I don't know exactly what the route is between uptown New Orleans and Slidell, maybe 40 minutes, maybe a little even longer. But still, she had to make that change and make sacrifices, and she didn't complain about it. She's doing it, but the system, when he wanted to be in this child's life 50% or more, and the courts granted it to him without any fight. She's the one that's had to fight to be able to get her access back, because I think at some point he was granted full custody because she had to suffer financially, and then she couldn't fight back against him legally because he had more money to spend. And also a spouse that was helping him be shitty. Now, maybe I'm biased because it's my friend, but still, I do try and look at these things from an angle of, hey, I know other people where the split was bad, and this guy had to live in an apartment with 3 other guys, to be able to afford whatever. But as soon as he asserted himself in court to be able to, get, fairer treatment, he got fairer treatment. I'm not going to say that the child support court treated him badly. Sure, but there are cases where you can find people that are treated badly and have poor outcomes in court. That doesn't prove that it's the whole for everything. That they like to cherry pick. They will cherry pick this fact, or this item, this anecdote, this one-time thing, and say, oh, since this happened to this one person, it must be happening to everybody.
As a study, let me answer your question, even though I should be interrogating you. I'll answer your question. Massive study out of Massachusetts that looked at 24,000 divorces. In those 25 divorces, they found that in only 8% of cases did men ask for custody. 8%.
Right, because the average American can't afford divorce fees, Anna.
But women
no. Again, she's so stupid. She's talking about in divorces. It's not that the average people can't afford divorces. She's saying when they're divorced and there's a kid involved, only 8% of men ask for custody.
Cost
afford to raise the children by themselves without support from the ex-husband. How does that make sense?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Of course you did, because you're too busy speaking over her and trying to, make her argument into something that it wasn't.
You're complaining about the costs while simultaneously arguing that a woman should not get child support in order to raise the children that the former couple had together.
Are you guys equal or not? You want to
Yes,
be equal.
equality means that you're both responsible for raising the children, and that includes the costs of raising the children.
So you should have equality, but not at the expense of men. 50-50 custody, 50-50.
Now, 50-50 custody is one thing, but again, according to Anna's study, that again, I don't know if her facts are rectally sourced as well, but it makes more sense to me that only 8% of the people in that study actually asked for custody. So if you're not asking for custody, you can't complain that you didn't get the custody, but still, it's not 50-50 financial support. If you had, a major league or a major, professional sports player, like a Major League Baseball player with a waitress, let's say, I don't know, and they had a kid together, are you suggesting that the Major League Baseball player should have to, or that the mother should have to pay the same amount of money towards the care of the kid as the professional baseball player? No, it's absurd. It should be based on what their income level is comparatively. Let's continue.
No child support, no alimony. That's equality. You don't want
alimony
equality.
Makes sense if the woman was a stay-at-home mother and doesn't have a source of income. How else would she take care of the kids following a divorce?
By getting a job just like the men.
And they will, but again, they don't have the same experience. That person put years of their life. If they'd agreed to be a stay-at-home parent, if they said that one parent is going to be stay-at-home and the other person is going to work, and then all of a sudden, one of the person who was making all that money decides that they want to trade in their spouse for a younger model, then what happens? Now, you know, the person's, you know, all that time that could have been spent working in a career has now been spent working on a home. And the jobs, most jobs are not going to consider that as part of work experience. So you've managed to put this person in a situation where they are less likely to be able to get a good paying job that they would have had been able to get had they had 10 to 15 years in the private sector. But again, Pearl's too stupid to understand this shit. Oh, and she's like, I'm going to drop my mic because I think I made a great point because 7 people in the audience are cheering me.
So you're saying that a woman who doesn't have recent job history is just going to willy-nilly enter the job force or workforce, I should say, and easily get hired? Do you guys care about this? So do you care about the children or not? Because you're making this about like the poor husband, the poor ex-husband who doesn't want to pay the child support, doesn't want, you know, to take on any of the responsibilities of having children in the first place. Why is it that you seem to have a problem with men carrying out their responsibilities, but when it comes to
men are dying to care about their responsibilities?
That's bullshit.
Men
Really?
are fighting to be a part of their kids' lives.
what's the
Yeah, again, the study that Anna showed only 8% of men asking for custody. So they're not fighting that hard if it's only 8% that are asking for custody.
empirical data on that?
I don't need data. How many people in here?
I don't need data. That sounds a lot like, wait, where is that? Do I have that still? I don't think I have that bit on my thing. The we don't care about the evidence. Like one of the conservative talkers, we don't care about the evidence. I don't need data. I mean, what else could you? I mean, maybe I should end it right there with her saying, I don't need data, because that is just perfect. But let's continue at least a little bit more. Maybe we'll go to a half an hour done, and then maybe we'll do another part another day if I feel like it.
Have had a family or a friend fight for their kid and not be able to get it. The reason that this happens, Anna, is because lawyers tell them not to fight because it's so expensive and they won't win.
What?
No, again, people that ask for custody tend to get it. People that don't ask for custody don't tend to get it. I'm sure it may very well be that these attorneys may they may want to be able to get out of court easily and be like, look, just don't fight for the custody. Just don't fight for custody. It'll take too long. I'll give you my fee. And maybe they figure they get more bang for their buck by getting more guys to settle that way instead of actually making an argument and making a fight. And maybe they feel like, okay, if I can get this person in and out of here, you know, in a couple of weeks, and then, you know, instead of having to spend a couple of months on it, I can get more return on my buck because I can charge this, you know, maybe slightly larger rate for the smaller amount of time. Maybe. Again, I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying that knowing how some lawyers behave, that may very well be how they think, and just trying to basically get people in, get people out, lather, rinse, repeat, profit. Who gives a shit about the actual results of my client? So
What is that based on? You have to provide, look, Pearl.
The fact that people wasted their time doing this is mind-blowing to me. I mean, yeah, I mean, you had these two people who, I mean, I typically disagree a lot with a lot of things, at least recently, that Ana Kasparian has to say. And of course, I disagree with the vast majority of things that Pick Me Pearl has to say. But again, the reason that we do this is because we need to stand up and be vocal in opposition and explain to people why what people like Just Pearly Things, what people like the Whatever podcast, what these other people are saying or doing, we need to fight them because we've given them too much land already in the whole internet. We've allowed them to have too much of a say without having contradictory facts to oppose what they're saying. And so now we're seeing 1/3 of Gen Z men who are supporting the idea that women should obey their partners, should obey their spouses, and not viewing a relationship as a 50-50 of equals, but viewing a relationship as you're my property. And that's what you get when you allow these people to go unchecked, is the word I was looking for.
I am open to be convinced, but I need more than anecdotes. I need more than vibes and feelings. Because we're talking about something
She needs data, but of course Pearl doesn't need data. She just needs her feelings.
serious here. We're talking about raising
Alyosha, LOL, slow. If we have more testing, we have more cases. Exactly.
children. We're talking about the shared
Wait, Big Hook says, I pray Pearl is not a mother. I don't think she's ever been married. Now, according to Ana Kasparian, she is also not a chaste individual, but, you know, I mean, taste is subjective, right?
responsibility
I know one person in chat who absolutely wouldn't want Pick Me Pearl, but probably wouldn't want Anna either.
of raising children. That, of course, includes the
90%
cost.
of disputed custody goes to women. That's not equal.
90%. That's a totally made-up statistic. Where
Again, rectally sourced.
are you citing that from?
She can't even say where she's citing it
All right,
from.
let's take a break there because our time actually ran out. Those opening interrogations are over.
Oh my God!
Let's take a moment here.
I put it on Google. What percentage of, and the first thing that popped up is of custody battles are won by women. But again, what are the facts? This one right at the top of the AI answer says 70 to 90% of the cases of women are awarded primary or sole physical custody in approximately 70 to 90%, according to various reports. Let's see. Fathers who actively pursue and fight for custody in court have a significantly higher success rate, often obtaining 50-50 shared or in some cases primary custody. Contested cases. In cases where both parents contest custody in court, mothers win custody apparently 7% to 65%. What data is this coming from? Again, depending on the study and specific circumstances. Settlements. Roughly 90 to 95% of custody cases are settled outside of court, with many parents mutually agreeing that the mother will be the primary caregiver. So again, that may be where she's getting the 90 to 95%, but that's where both parents agree that the mother would be the caregiver. The percentage of fathers with primary physical custody has increased roughly 20% up from 16% in 1994. Courts focus on best interests of the child, often favoring the primary caregiver, a role that historically has been the mother but is evolving. Again, regional variation, custody outcomes vary significantly by state, with some regions granting more equal time than others. That's kind of 1984 is. This thing is an hour and 15 minutes, but we're not going to go past another 8 more. I promise you, Jolie.
You guys want to grab a sip of water? All right. The next step is going to be 30 minutes. We're going to open it up. Again, open debate. I'd remind you guys, I know everyone's passionate about this. I get it.
Imagine if Biden had made the liberal Danimals watch Anna and Pearl for an hour and a half. You don't get it for that one. I'm sorry. You're not getting it for that comment. F you, Ali. Church is every game. I mean, F you on that one. Hilarious. Anyway, just kidding. Just picking on you, man. But again, we're not doing an hour and a half. We're going to do maybe 8 more minutes.
But we can't have multiple people debating at the same time, right? We got one debater here. We got one debater here. Let's keep it here. All right?
They're not going to listen because there's men in the audience who don't believe that women should be able to be heard.
Put 30 minutes on the clock, and let's begin the open debate. Pearl, I'll let you pick up here. Go ahead.
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are consequences for it, especially when
Which
there's a
are?
court order for them to
Which
carry
are?
out their responsibility and pay child support so that child can be raised.
And what happens
Do you
if they
think
don't
there
pay
shouldn't
it?
be legal responsibilities or legal consequences if they fail to carry out a court order to
That's the question you needed to ask. That's the question you should have asked earlier on, which is exactly what should happen to people. Thank you, Alyosha, for the bits. What should happen to people if they don't pay their child support? Like, what do you think should happen? If you think it's wrong, what's happening to them who don't? What do you think should happen to them?
take care of their kids?
I've interviewed men that have paid millions of dollars in
Don't
child
care about your
support, and
interviews.
they're-
Anecdotal evidence doesn't matter. What I need is actual statistic, empirical evidence. They should pay their child support. $441
What happens-
is the average child support payment. 400
It's 441 is the average payment, but Pearl thinks that's mean.
$241 a month.
Yeah, that's for someone that makes $24,000 a year.
You just told me a woman can just go to work and take
Trust it every game. I know you're being silly. I know you weren't trying to be an asshole. I'm just picking on you. I love you, man.
care of the kids totally by herself.
How does a guy live when he's paying $500 a month on $24,000 a year?
And then if the woman's making 70% of that, which is, you know, what math? Whatever, was 30% of that, so 24,000, 24, 48, 60 or 72, so 17,000. How's the woman going to do it on 17, right?
You think $500 a month is too much in child support? Do you know how much it costs to raise a child? Do you know how much childcare costs, for instance?
Well, maybe the guy should have closed his legs before having a child and made sure to worry about that before, you know, being such a whore, right? Maybe the guy should have thought about that before procreating. I mean, that's what conservatives say about women, right? So why can't we turn that around on the dudes?
I mean, that mother has to go to work, right? Where's the kid going to stay while that mother is working?
Daycare. Well, who's going to pay for the daycare? Again.
How is she going to pay for
what happens to men when they don't pay child support?
They get in trouble. What should happen to men? I answer the question as to what should happen to the guys.
Sorry, say that again.
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
How many times is she gonna ask that question though? That's we should take a drink every time she repeats the same question over and over and over again. But again, we'd all die of alcohol poisoning.
There are legal repercussions for not carrying out.
Church certificate game. Jesus, it isn't even that Anna won. Pearl just lost because she has no idea what the fuck she agreed to debate. Exactly.
Out a court mandate to do something.
Do you think that fraud should be illegal?
Absolutely.
Again, changing the subject. This is what conservatives do. I had this yesterday when having a discussion with my friend Nick about, you know, political things. It's like, I made a point. The point that I made was great. And what was his response? To change immediately to the next subject because he couldn't handle the question that I asked.
Okay.
And look, Nick is probably one of the better ones out there who I enjoy debating, who I enjoy having conversations with. Obviously, we had a good time on the little game that we played, and we'll be doing that a lot more often. But still, that is a conservative tactic to immediately just pivot to something else if they can't answer the question.
So why is it not illegal for women to fraud men on paternity?
Fraud or defraud?
If a man does not find out he's the father over the age of 2, he is on the hook for child support for 18 years.
I don't know what the law is when it comes to that, but it's wrong. If you're lying about paternity, that is wrong, and there should be legal consequences for that.
Why haven't feminists fought?
It's that simple.
Then why?
Because it's not the big problem that you're trying to make it out to be. I guarantee you every single feminist out there would say it's wrong for that to happen. It's wrong for somebody to lie, and it's wrong to force somebody to pay money for a child that's not theirs. They would all agree with it. What they would argue, though, is that you are putting undue weight on the topic. That the amount of times that this particular thing happens, comparatively to all the other injustices in the world, it's very small. Unless you can prove that it's happening at such a vast rate that it's worthy of all this time and effort that you're putting towards it. But that's what they do. They blow up tiny little issues into big ones. It's like when they go into arguments about whatchamacallit. You know, when they start talking about having conversations about sexual assault, about rape, they'll be like, what about the false accusations? No, but the false accusations don't take place at the same rate as rapes do. Rape is much more of a big problem in our society than false accusations of rape. And I was somebody who was falsely accused of rape. Short version of the story again. Day 1, met a person. We have things happen. Not everything, but things happen. Day 2, she left. Then came back and hung out with me. And then day 3, she claimed on day 1 that something happened and it was against her consent. Well, if it was against her consent on day 1, why did you come back and see me on day 2? Clear false accusation. When she got to that point in the story in the police report, no charges were pressed, and the police report just abruptly stopped with plenty of room on the paper, I might add. But it abruptly stopped. And why? Because the story didn't pan out. And the police officers in that particular circumstance did exactly what they should have done. They listened to her. The only thing that they shouldn't have done is they shouldn't have contacted me and let us know that there was an accusation being made until they actually took the time to take the damn report. But I guess it's water under the bridge now, but still. And the first thing I thought of once I had the relief that no charges were being pressed, I was very relieved. Then all of a sudden I was like, I'm now going to have to make it a point that when I hear that somebody accused somebody else of rape or sexual assault or whatever, that I am going to have to make sure that I do not put the victim under the same mindset of the person who is my false accuser, because I do not want to make sure that I treat everybody else like this one individual. But again, that gets back to what I said earlier. That's the difference between the left and the right. The left will see a bad being done by one person or a small group of people, and they'll say it's the fault of those people. But the right sees one or several small group of people doing things and say it's all of their fault. They're all to blame for this. All to blame. So yeah, when you put undue weight on these things, you get smacked down by the left, by feminists, by whatever, not because we don't think you're wrong on the fact that if it happens to an individual, that's wrong. We just don't like the fact that you're putting undue weight on these issues, that you're blowing it up into something bigger than it actually is. And by doing so, you're harming other people who are actually suffering because of the actual things and wrongs that are happening in society at a much higher rate. So anyway, let's continue. We got 6 more minutes, less than 6 minutes of watching it today, and then we'll maybe do it another day if I feel like it.
Why aren't feminists fighting for it, Anna?
Because feminists fight for women, obviously.
Right, that's my point,
Yeah.
at the expense of men.
I disagree with Anna. Feminists don't just fight for women, because if feminists ultimately had their way, everybody in society will be better off. Not just women, but men too, and non-binary folks, and other people who are gender non-conforming. Men are harmed by the patriarchy. Women seek to topple the patriarchy. So when women topple the patriarchy, men will be benefited by the fact that the patriarchy is toppled. So unless she goes on after this point to say men are benefited from it too, I at this point am disagreeing with Anna. And of course, as the Trust Every Game brings up, feminism about fighting equality for everyone. Also, TERFs are feminists, whatever, blah, 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 because TERFs are not feminists because they are, yes, exactly. You corrected the record, and just as I was correcting you. TERFs are not feminists because they exclude a certain subset of women. Absolutely 100% accurate. It's very hard for you to say that you're a feminist if you're not going to include trans women in that argument. But since Anna has made some TERFy-ass comments, we're still going to hold her feet to the said fire.
You guys want to believe women at the expense of men. Why isn't Amber Heard in jail? Because of the Me Too movement. You guys push believing all rape victims, and now we...
That's not... Believe victims are... And look, and she worded it, believe all rape victims and not just believe women. But, yes, we should be... Exactly what I was talking about. When somebody comes forward with an accusation of rape, they should not be automatically discounted. They should not be automatically disbelieved. And... Look, we live in a society where people are innocent until proven guilty. Filing a false police report is a crime. So therefore, if you're going to say that somebody is automatically should be disbelieved when they come forward and make a claim to the police, guess what? You're basically treating them as guilty until proven innocent of filing a false police report. So yeah, you should take the time, you listen to the person, you listen to their story, and if the story pans out, if it makes sense, if it doesn't fall apart, then guess what? Then you continue investigating or whatever. But yes, we live in a society where somebody comes forward and says, I was sexually assaulted, I was sexually abused, whatever, by this person. And people are like, oh, I'm not going to believe her. Oh, she must be lying. Oh, she must have asked for it. Oh, what was she wearing? Oh, this, oh, that. All the other typical tropes that have, like, oh, did you enjoy it? Oh, did you climax? Oh, whatever. Did you say no? Did they say yes? All these arguments that are made by rape apologists help to perpetuate rape culture. So yes, everybody coming forward who is claiming that they are a victim of some sort of sexual assault, of sexual abuse, rape, etc., should be listened to, should not be automatically turned away and said, we don't believe you. Now, again, if their story falls apart, then at that point, you don't have to continue believing them. But they want you to believe that it's more than that. And this is why we're watching stuff like this. And again, I'm not going to subject you to the whole thing all at once. There'll be some other clips that we watch in a second. But I'm not going to subject you to all of this at once, but this is why we need to respond to this, because, again, comments like Pick Me Pearl, from the whatever podcast, from all these rape apologists or whatever, have gone unchecked for far too long. And we need to fight them to make sure that especially our young boys, because the data will show that the people who are most likely to be perpetuators of sexual violence are young men, or maybe even older men. But we need to stop them when they're young men. We need to teach our young boys about consent. Are there women who violate? Sure, you have plenty of stories of women who also violate the consent of others, and they should be punished as well. But we have a situation where you have guys who think that certain activities are okay when they're not, and who are going to automatically make it easier for people to get away with their crimes. Like everybody on the Epstein fucking list. How many guys are on the Epstein list, and how many women? You got Ghislaine Maxwell, and you got a whole bunch of other guys, men, on that list. And I'm not going to say they're not real men. Yes, they're real fucking men. Why? Because by saying that they're not real men, you're taking away the fact that you're taking away their agency and what they did. They did these things as men on the Epstein list. And by trying to make up, oh, they must be lying, there must be, what were they wearing, all the other excuses that they make whenever anybody comes forward and makes a claim of abuse, assault, etc., makes it more easy for perpetrators of sexual violence to get away with the sexual violence that they perpetuate. This is why we have to respond to these people. This is why content has to be made to combat these people. This is why we have to make sure that their horribleness does not go unchecked. So
We have
Amber Heard had to pay out a massive settlement.
Yeah, but why isn't she in jail?
You want her in jail?
Yes.
Well,
She ruined
the
his
penalties
life.
for defamation are what the
defamation is a civil charge, and therefore if you defame somebody's character, it's a civil charge, not a criminal penalty. Now, if they believe that she was lied in court under contempt, then you can absolutely go to jail for contempt of court, filing a false police report. If you file a false police report, you could, if it could be proven that it was a false statement, that she was actually lying, and that a reasonable person would know that these comments are not true, then you could go to jail for filing a false police report. Should there be punishment for people who make false accusations? Maybe, but again, not to the point where it's going to have a chilling effect on people coming forward and telling their stories. You have to make sure that the checks and the safety is there, so that people who are victims of abuse, victims of assault, victims of sex crimes can come forward without having to fear that some overzealous attorney is going to say, oh, well, you need to go after this person too, and that person's a criminal because they're lying. Because according to a lot of these men's rights activists, MGTOW, red pill type people, the people who disbelieve that we live in a rape culture, a lot of these people will say if the person's found not guilty, then therefore you should punish the person who made the accusation, which again does not follow what our legal system says. Just because you lacked the evidence to convict doesn't mean it didn't happen. Simple as that. But again, these people want to make it easier for rapists to rape. And that's why you have to make sure to combat them in all the spaces that they exist.
The court's decision is, right? You want people to go to prison for defamation?
He had to go to 2 different countries to clear his name. Why isn't she in jail? He lost.
But again, him losing money means he can go after her civilly, but him losing money isn't in and of itself a crime unless she physically stole it, and then that's, theft, larceny, whatever it is.
Millions of dollars.
To be clear, you think the penalty for defamation is prison time?
I think the penalty for a false accusation is that the woman should get the same time that he would have gotten if he was found guilty.
Men don't go to prison for defamation.
And see, this is the problem with feminists. You want all these freedoms, but you won't actually be equal.
I do want equality.
No, if you wanted to
but the whole be equal thing is just such bullshit. Be equal, take a shot, because she's always just repeats. It's a stupid, tiny-minded argument that is meaningless. It might work on a t-shirt. It might say, you want equality, be equal, just put be equal or whatever, put a B with an equality sign under it, say be equal or whatever. That's what you want to do. You want to make $1 million on your shirts? Fine. You make your be equal shirts, whatever, but it's a dumb, nonsensical argument. Catherine, thank you, Liberty, thank you for saying that rape and violence, especially on women and children, are more vulnerable than one. This is not okay because too many people condone and say it's okay. Exactly. Look, I've talked about my abuse that took place when I was a kid. There was actually a particular circumstance that took place when I was actually a young teen where you would probably say that I lacked the ability to consent to what was going on, and and it still happened. And I was with a woman. But again, at the time, it was just like, oh, whatever. I was uncomfortable. I just wanted to get out of the situation. So, anyway.
To be equal, you would fight for 50-50 child.
P-dubs. If men want prison for defamation, if men went to prison for defamation, Trump should be doing life. Oh, we could only hope.
For no alimony.
Oh, she's losing her words.
No alimony. So again, if a woman decided
she's just going back to this. Makes why we're probably going to stop this again. Maybe I'll watch some more of this without it. But again, a lot of times I like to do things off the cuff and want to be able to have the legitimate argument. But I mean, Pearl is just saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. So
to forego working, decided to stay home to raise the children, and the marriage doesn't work out. She's got no income whatsoever. She doesn't deserve any alimony.
Women aren't even doing that. Number one, that's not even women are not staying home with the kids. And number two,
but that's what you want women to do. You want women to not be in the workplace and to be in traditional gender roles. Pearl?
You have daycare.
A lot of women do these days.
You
actually.
have daycare.
The traditional women who want to stay home, they want to be traditional wives. And you trash them all the time, which I don't understand.
Look,
it seems like women can't do anything right when it comes to you, right? They're stay-at-home moms. They're traditional.
I understand that you can personally attack me. That's fine.
I'm not personally attacking you.
Okay.
These are things that you have said on the record multiple times.
But if you cared about equality, you would care about false accusations.
If you cared about equality, you would care about this thing that makes up a tiny portion of what goes on in the entire world. Make these huge things into huge things, and make these big, and then you would take big things and turn them into small things, and whatever. I wish I could have a small thing turn into a big thing. Maybe Melania wouldn't look at other world leaders so lustily. Anyway, it's been a while since I made a Trump joke.
I do care about false accusations.
No, you don't.
You don't know me. You don't know what I care about.
Look, all right. Let's talk about rights that men do not have. Men do not have the right to be enlisted in selective service. We have 125.
Right, what? Men do not have the right to be enlisted? No, what is the other way around? Are you screwing up your own rectally sourced data?
Men who were drafted and buried overseas. Think about that over a second. You talk about the oppressions of the past. But how many men died in World War I and World War II and had...
Did they allow women to serve back then? I mean, you're blaming... Here's one of the other problems with patriarchal systems and the people that support them, is that men created this patriarchal system that says women can't go to war, women can't work in these jobs, women can't do this job, women can't... whatever, all the things women can't do, and then they should stay home and raise the kids, whatever. And then you're going to blame them for not going to war. You didn't let them go to war in the first place. You're creating the problem that you're now complaining about. The patriarchy created this system, and now they're complaining about the system that the patriarchy created while arguing that the patriarchy should stay intact. No, feminism wants to end the patriarchal roles and say that it shouldn't matter what gender you are. If you could do the job, you should be able to go do the job. If you can serve in combat, you should be able to go serve in combat. If you could, if you can fly a jet, captain a boat, if you can, fire a sniper rifle, if you could do all of those things adequately and well, then you should be able to do so. And but the conservatives be like, oh, well, you shouldn't lessen what is needed to be done to make sure that the troops aren't battle ready or whatever. No, you should make sure that the requirements for the job are enough to satisfy the requirements for the job. And if you can't do the job, then you don't get the job. But you shouldn't make them so artificially high that it's unattainable for only a certain amount of people. But you should not be able to be like, oh, well, those people can't serve because they're women. There are plenty of women who could kick my ass this way, that way, and whatever, who would absolutely be able to, join the military and go kick other people's asses as well. So anyway.
No choice. And yet Anna complains about oppression. Men do not have the right to face their...
It's not oppression. If it's not, men are not part of a marginalized and oppressed class simply because they're men. But you're going to look, again, but men created the problem, and now you're complaining for the poor men who created the problem.
Accuser in court when they have a false allegation and for personal protection orders that strips constitutional rights away from...
The accuser in a rape case is the state. The state is the one that brings charges. The state is the one that files the charges. Not the individual. The individual might press the state to file charges or whatever, but the state is the one that actually is the one that brings the charges against the individual. And how many cases of rape and sexual assault and sexual abuse go untried because the prosecutors are like, there's not enough evidence. Or it's just he said, she said, so therefore we're not going to be able to convince a jury to convict, so we're not going to waste our time doing so. This doesn't mean we lower the standards on what it takes to convict people on crimes, but what it means is that there are people who are absolutely getting away with it. Now, again, it would have sucked had my case went to court, because it would have been he said, she said. I don't know how it would have went. I'm pretty sure once the jury heard the testimony from the police report from the officer that took the testimony, the sworn statement given to the officer by the person that made the false accusation, I'm sure the jury, I would like to believe that the jury would have been like, that's not a case of sexual assault, not one bit. It was consented to. But that's why the cops didn't press charges in that case. But there are many other cases where there were legitimate claims that many prosecutors just like, nope, we're not going to bring this case. We can't win it, so therefore we're not even going to try. So many people who have raped have gotten away with it. And this doesn't excuse innocent people being locked up for crimes they didn't do. But again, she's making a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to false accusations and making a molehill out of a mountain when it comes to actual rape case.
The man. Women go before a judge and say they don't feel safe, and more than likely a PP order will be issued. The man was not in court.
Granted, it was against another guy who was acting like an absolute psycho, but I was able to get a temporary protective order against somebody who, said something that made me feel not safe. And at the end of the day, the court didn't feel like there was any reason for it to extend that protective order. What good does a protective order do when the Supreme Court has ruled that a police department cannot be held responsible for not following it, for not enforcing it? Like, the Supreme Court literally has ruled that there is no requirement on the police department to enforce those protective orders. So that's a nice piece of paper to have, and maybe some people might be afraid to act because that piece of paper exists, but again, how many cases of protective orders are made against men that are, made based off of BS claims versus how many protective orders are made that are actually legitimate, and then how many protective orders that should have been made that because of legitimate claims that weren't because the judge was like, I don't think there's enough information there. That's what these people don't understand. They don't understand it at all. 2 minutes, 10 seconds left.
Had no say, has no defense, and does not get to face his accuser. That is done en masse, and many servicemen and first responders lose their careers over this because it strips a man's Second Amendment rights away based on
because they're taking away their gun. Okay.
No evidence. Men do not have the right to raise their children.
But again, it makes sense that you might lose your ability to have, a gun if you have a protective order against you, whatever. And again, should there be more due process involved in whether or not you have your gun rights permanently taken away or not? Sure. I would say that, when it comes to any sort of red flag type of situation, like those red flag laws, that there should be. We shouldn't do the Donald Trump take the guns first, lose those rights forever, as the song says, or as he said, take the guns first. Your own president, the person I'm sure you supported, you might not have voted for him because you don't think women should vote, Pearl, but you might not have voted for this this asshole in chief that we have, but he is the one who said that if you go to court and somebody you feel is a danger, that you should take the guns first and then deal with the due process afterwards. That's your side. That's conservatives arguing that, not the left. I mean, there might be some people on the left who say that, but it's your guys in power right now, and he's saying that, and y'all are magically silent. At least most of you are magically silent. Some of y'all are consistent, but most of y'all are not.
Children. Divorce is no fault, but when it comes to child custody, it's always the man's fault. He loses.
No, it's not the man's fault. Again, you're going back to the same thing, back to regurgitating the same rectally sourced arguments. But still, it's not. No fault should be allowed because nobody should be forced to remain in part of a union that they no longer want to be a part of. And yes, everybody should be forced to contribute to the welfare and the child care of the children that they helped created.
His children to the system. 96 hours a month the father does not make. Men have longer prison sentences. Women get a third of the time for the same crime. Where are the feminists fighting for equality on that issue? There have been
Again, and here's the thing. If you say so many other rectally sourced pieces of information, rectally sourced facts, then why? I'm going to stop disbelieving anything. If what you said is true, and then if you had a woman and a man doing the same crime, and if studies show that, the men get harsher prison sentences than the women do, then you should absolutely rectify that situation. Again, I have no reason to believe that you're telling the truth about it, because again, I find most of the information that Pearl says is rectally sourced. That being said, fix that issue. But I'm sure you were silent as the grave when it came to black people and white people getting disproportionate jail terms. When a black person goes to prison, I'm sure you made tons of excuses, right? This is what conservatives do. Even if just Pearly things, Pick Me Pearl, didn't make these sort of arguments, these conservatives out there will make the same argument of, oh, well, this black person, there must be an excuse why they got more prison time than this other white person. But you're silent. You must not care about those, right? Use the same arguments that she does, right? Must not care about that because you're only talking about disproportionate sentences when it's versus men and women, supposedly, but you're not going to bring it up when it comes to people of different races. And this is one of the massive flaws of conservatism.
There has been rampant discrimination against better qualified men in hiring across multiple industries. Men pay more child support, and child support orders are not enforced at the same rates between men and women. Women are more likely
women pay
not
child
to
support.
pay
Fascinating.
and are prosecuted for non-payment at lower rates. Men cannot.
Wait, are they prosecuted for non-payment at lower rates because they're women and they're not and that's the only thing there, or are they prosecuted at non-payment at lower rates because there's lower rates of non-payment amongst women, of people who pay child support? Again, rectally sourced information is kind of hard to verify. That's kind of gross.
Opt out of parenthood. Men have very few domestic violence shelters and are not taken seriously when they're domestic violence victims.
I agree on that.
And feminists will fight for that. But again, you present a straw man argument of feminism and not an actual argument of feminism in and of itself. I've heard feminists talk about the lack of shelter for men, and that men should have better places to go to escape abuse.
White men in particular are discriminated against when it comes to hiring and educational attainment.
True.
The Duluth model is a model that law enforcement, courts, and counselors use automatically that assumes men are the aggressor. The tender years doctrine is a guideline in divorce used to justify removing the father from the child's life. The only institutional sexism that exists is institutional sexism that discriminates against men in favor.
I mean, why would I believe anything you said just previously when you make that bullshit argument?
Of women. Furthermore, U.S. courts do not require receipts to show how that money is spent by the custodial parent, unless there's overwhelming.
So, if money is fungible in some ways, where if you pay a certain amount of money to cover the kid's costs, and then the kid isn't getting taken care of, then yeah, you should do an investigation as to why that's happening. But why should I have to be able to do what? Are you suggesting that we should put money in separate accounts that's specifically for the care of the child? I mean, there are certain things that are needed for the care of the child that might be not seen by people with no brains as being necessary, right? So uscc.gov is probably where she's getting some of her information, maybe.
Evidence of starvation, malnutrition, or severe child abuse. There are numerous reports.
Yeah, so when there's evidence of when there's evidence that they're doing wrong and that the child is not being taken care of, they will investigate it. But when there's no evidence that the child is not being taken care of, then they don't investigate it. Shocker!
Pause. You want the government to check receipts and see, like...
Let's let her respond to some of that.
Hold on, let's understand something. You want government to be so big that you literally have the government looking at receipts to see what a mother is spending the money on? That's insane.
I want no child support, no alimony, 50-50.
Yeah, because you're crazy and you don't live in reality.
I think that's a good part to end on that one. I mean, that's a good place to end right there. Yeah, pretty much exactly. And maybe we'll come back to this one again in a little bit. But let's see. What was one of the things she brought about? The Duluth model. What's the Duluth model? Since the early 1980s, Duluth, a small community in northern Minnesota, has been an innovator in ways to hold batterers accountable to keep victims safe. The Duluth model is an ever-approaching way of thinking about how a community works together to end domestic violence. A community using Duluth model approach has taken the blame off of the victim and placed the accountability for abuse on the offender, has shared policies and procedures for holding offenders accountable and keeping victims safe across all agencies in the criminal and civil justice systems. Dun dun. From 911 to the courts, prioritizes the voices and experiences of women who experience battering in the creation of those policies and procedures, believe that battering is a pattern of actions used to intentionally control or dominate an intimate partner, and actively works to change societal conditions that support men's use of tactics and power and control over women. Offers change opportunities for offenders through court-ordered educational groups for batterers, has ongoing discussions between criminal and civil justice agencies, community members, and victims to close the gaps and improve the community's response to battering. Let's see. So, I mean, it seems to make sense. I mean, I don't understand why that would be. I mean, maybe she's complaining about the fact that because there are women abusers, and as such, the women should... have to be, the women abusers should also have to be dealt with that. But still, I mean, they focus on the wrong thing. They focus on absolutely the wrong thing. They focus on, the language that's used as it pertains to the genderedness of the assaulters or whatever, and they then focus less on the fact that what they're trying to do is make sure that you blame abuse on the abusers and not the victims, right? So. Let's see. What was I talking about a lot of the time when I kept on talking about the third of Gen Z men? 31% of Gen Z men believe the wife should obey her husband, a study finds. The study surveyed 23,268 adults in 29 different countries, including about 1,000 from the United States. About 1/3 of Gen Z men across 29 different countries believe a wife should always obey her husband. A new study out of Paris found, just in time for International Women's Day on March 8th, an International Women's Day study published by the Paris-based multinational market research and consulting firm Ipsos found that of the 23,268 adults surveyed, 31% of Gen Z men agree that a wife should always obey her husband. The figure is more than double the response of 13% of the men who are baby boomers. Across the board, men Gen Z participants consistently responded with more traditional views about gender roles, as outlined in the survey. 57% of Gen Z men agreed, we have gone so far in promoting women's equality that we are discriminating against men. And why do they believe that, per se? Why do they believe that sort of thing? I'll tell you why. Because they listen to bullshit like from Pick Me Pearl, which is why we need to combat the things that Pick Me Pearl and the other people who are part of the manosphere have to say. Yes, she is part of the manosphere because she is actively engaged with those folks. She might not be engaged to any of them because she's probably too old for the people in the manosphere to actually desire her, because they only want people who are 18 to 20. But still, she is actively engaged in the manosphere. She derives profit from the manosphere, etc. Let's see. 59% of those same Gen Z folks agreed that men are expected to do too much to support equality. These figures differed from older participants. 42% of male baby boomers agreed gender equality is leading towards discrimination, and 45% agreed men are expected to do too much to support equality. The new study comes as dialogue continues to ramp up about young men's involvement, especially in the United States, in the manosphere, on websites, videos, and forums that promote male supremacy and advocate for traditional gender roles. Manosphere figureheads like Andrew Tate, a self-described misogynist, believe women are responsible for men's romantic rejection, low self-esteem, and economic insecurity. Again, we've talked about that before as well. The fact that women are responsible for women are responsible for the rejection of men. Well, as I've said before on the show, men view like sex like a shotgun. You shoot, you ask 1,000 people to get laid, and maybe you might get laid once or twice. So yeah, you're going to have a 0.02% success rate, so an over 99% failure rate, and then you're going to blame women for all those women for saying no. Well, maybe if you wouldn't be such sluts and asking everybody and their mother to go sleep with you, then you wouldn't have this vast supply of available man out there to have sex with, and you wouldn't be putting women in the role in these heterosexual type relationships that you're pursuing. You wouldn't have that ability to say, there wouldn't be such a supply out there, so maybe women would be the ones asking more than the men do. But if you're going to sit here and be a bunch of sluts and try and throw your dick in everybody you could possibly find in the hopes that one person will say yes, and this is assuming that they worry about a yes or a no, if you're sitting there hoping that, then you are creating the problem that as we said before, men create the problem that they complain about. They are the ones supplying so much availability to sex because they're throwing themselves out there so much that they are creating the problem that causing all these people to say, no, if you didn't harass women all the damn time to fuck you, then you wouldn't hear no all the time. And maybe some people might actually try and approach you, especially if you try to act like a decent human being. Deeper look at the Ipsos study. Young men display traditional values of their own behavior in addition to their expectations of women. Gen Z men also reported the highest responses for traditional physical, mental, and emotional expectations of themselves. The Ipsos study found 43% of Gen Z men believe young men should try and be physically tough when it came to more emotion-centric props. 32% agreed men should figure out problems on their own before asking for help. Ugh, I mean, that's terrible. Conducted in 29 countries. Survey was distributed on Ipsos Global Advisor platform. The survey was conducted between December 24th and January 9th. The study's technical notes outline the study asked participants 13 questions about their attitudes towards gender equality, freedom in the future, and gender roles. Some questions asked participants to rate how much they personally agreed or disagree with statements, while others asked what participants' thoughts others believed. Ipsos defined Generation Z as individuals born between 1996 and 2012. Millennials as people are born between 80 and 95. Gen X between 66 and 79. Baby boomers between 45 and 65. What countries participated? A whole bunch. Countries with stricter gender roles reflected in the survey. 80% of male participants from Thailand agreed gender equality efforts discriminate against men compared to 40% men of the United States, and 70% of male participants in Brazil agreed, 70% of male participants in Brazil and India agreed that men are expected to do too much for equality, compared to 44% of men in the United States. These responses reflected the historically strict gender roles in these countries. And so again, why am I bringing this up today? Because A, we were talking about Pick Me Pearl, and we were, yes, actually they're probably listening to Andrew Tate copycats. Yeah, like the whatever podcast or whatever. And what Andrew Tate copycats might there be, so to speak? Well, let's talk about some of these videos, shall we? Because we have more examples of the manosphere that we are going to be talking about here as well. We have several, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. So let's see, about 2 hours and 8 minutes into the show. Okay. So we're going to do actually a recording of this stuff simply because of the fact that we want to be able to chop these up and not, actually, if we're going to do that, let's go ahead and change the look. Let's go to the alternate page because that one's better to do when it comes to this. And then we can, let me change this a little bit more, bring it down here, put myself below there, so we can have the, if I want to make it into shorts, I can. Anyway, here we go. And we can chop all these up later on. We won't do this during the show, obviously. Anyway, so here's the first video that we're going to be doing for at least in a while for the Unraveling Toxic Masculinity series that we have here on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. And we're just going to watch a bunch of them. Some of them are from the Whatever podcast. Some of them are from other shows that we haven't even responded to, although I think one of them is somebody that we have responded to from the Fresh and Fit podcast who's now on a different show. I don't know how all that worked. But let's go ahead and listen to what some of these people have to say. I think this one had to do with body count or whatever.
Who the F are you to tell me or judge me on my body count when your body count is probably 10 times higher than mine? Like, it just bugs me and triggers me because it's like crazy to me.
Yes, there's a double standard, but it exists for a reason. Look,
Please tell us the reason, oh wise man.
I mean, you could go out tonight and find 100 dudes that would want to sleep with you. You're a pretty...
And that's the same old tired argument. Yes, she could absolutely go find a whole crap ton of men. Does that mean that she wants to or she's going to? No, she's probably not. Just because you would want to go out there and do that doesn't mean that she's going to do that. And that's you're projecting your ideas of what you would do if you were a woman and then you're trying to project them onto this other person. Let's continue.
Pretty woman, got good energy, guarantee you could get laid by 100 different guys throughout the city. For guys, totally different story. I'm a decently good looking guy compared to the average. I don't think I'm like an ultra giga chad, but like even for a guy like me, like it's the number of women that I could sleep with compared to the number of men that you could sleep with. It's a huge differential. And
now somebody tried to make this argument to me. Maybe this would be more suited for Liberal Dan Radio After Dark. I don't know, but the idea of body count is overall toxic. We'll just say that. The body count is a toxic idea because, again, just because you've had one in you 100 times or 100 in you one times, it's not going to have any difference of your body whatsoever. But that being said, I guarantee you that this guy would be shocked at the overall numbers that I've had over the course of my lifetime. So I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to say what those numbers are. I'm not going to say, maybe that is a conversation that could be had in Liberal Dan Radio After Dark. I don't know. But that being said, I have always been a larger person. I've never been in shape like this guy is. But you know what? I have a personality. I can actually go talk to people. I actually, bring things to the table like humor and stuff like that, that these people don't have. You might not call yourself a Giga Chad, but you hold ideas that are definitely part of that Giga Chad movement, and as such, those ideas, the words that come spewing out of your mouth, will probably cockblock you more than my size ever has. And one of the things I did learn when I was much younger, which actually gave me a more ability to be more outgoing and to meet more people and to date up and marry up, as I often say, is the fact that, I stopped giving a crap about what people thought. And that gave me more confidence because I came to the realization when I was in college that, look, you know what? If somebody's not attracted to me, that's not something that's bad about them because they have every right to be attracted to whoever they are attracted to, just like I have the right to be attracted to whomever I'm attracted to. And as such, I shouldn't be offended over them saying no. Now, how they say no, maybe that could offend me. Maybe that might piss me off. Maybe that just shows that they're a terrible person if they do it in a rude way. But I've found that if you don't approach people in a rude way, they're often not going to reject you in a rude way either. Simple as that. So the idea that you have to have this, you have to be this big athletic guy or whatever to be able to go get laid is a bunch of crap. Let's see what else he has to say.
And the reason why there is a double standard is because if a woman wants to rack up a very high body count, like if a woman wants to sleep with 100 guys, all she has to do is open her legs. If a guy wants to sleep with 100 women, he has to become an absolute stud in order to do so.
Again, I'm not saying I'm at 100. I will guarantee you that I'm not at 100. That's for damn sure. But still, my point is that the idea that you have to have, have high income, that you have to have the perfect body, the perfect face, the everything that might, cause somebody to look at you immediately and be like, ooh, he's hot, he's whatever, to be able to have success in the bedroom. My experience tells me, granted, maybe my experience is anecdotal, but there are a lot of people out there who are guys, and you look at the guys and you'll be like, how did that guy get that woman? How did that happen? And the reason is because the person probably made the person laugh, probably engaged them intellectually, didn't treat them like they were some sort of horrible person because of a manufactured body count number. You know, many different reasons as to why somebody might have success dating, success with their sex life, etc., that go beyond the external attraction view, but the ideas that are brought forth and set forth by types that would go on the whatever podcast, especially the men who would be featured on the whatever podcast, they don't have the intellectual capabilities to determine, hey, this is how people can actually have success in their dating lives. They wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, that's somebody who was successful, because they would judge me by my appearance and not by my brains, not by my sense of humor, etc. So anyway. Oh, and by the way, if Molly's still here, I just got the rain. Anyway, let's continue with this video.
That doesn't mean that it's okay for him to do so. I totally disagree with men sleeping with tons of women. I think it's bad for society. I also think it's bad for society for women.
Well, but you know, if it's bad for society, then you should then be focusing your arguments like that. I don't think it's bad for society for people who consent to sexual activities to enjoy themselves sexually. We are more sex positive here on Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right. We don't base our worldview based on some sort of Christo-fascist idea. That being said, you know, if you don't want to sleep with a bunch of people, don't sleep with a bunch of people, but don't be a fucking judgmental asshat for when other people decide that they're going to do things with other people in a consensual way. And if you don't want to date somebody that is sexually free, your loss.
Women to sleep with a lot of men. And one of the signs of a high value woman is a woman who can say no. If a woman can say no to men.
Oh, I guarantee you, the women tell men no all the fucking time. Why? Because I'll go back to the same point I was making. Men want to throw themselves out there like fucking, you know, shotgun approach. Ask 1,000 people to have sex in order to get 2, if that. Y'all are being the ones who are being all slutty or whatever. So men tell y'all no all the time, and then you complain about being told no. Women say no all the live long day. So yeah, they say no a lot. But because they didn't say no enough, you're going to judge them. And more so than you're going to judge the men, because you perpetuate the double standard that you call a double standard, but don't actually do anything to fight the double standard.
And that shows that she can express discretion, she has self-control, she has self-discipline, and those are desirable traits in a mate.
Well, shouldn't that also be parts in a male partner as well, not just a woman, if that's what your ideas are? Don't tell men to say no to. Tell men to stop asking everybody all the time. You know, stop acting like wild dogs in heat. How about them apples? Anyway, let's go on to the next video that we have ready right here. The title is "Female Friends Are Pointless for Men," is what we can read right there. Anyway, let's continue, shall we?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I know we're talking on the basis of like dating, right? You wouldn't date someone that's promiscuous. But let's just say like you had a really close friend that's a girl.
Sure.
How are you going to feel about her being promiscuous? Like, are you like, how does that affect your feelings of your friendship and who she is as like a person?
I don't know if I'd be friends with the show.
You think it devalues them as a person?
As a friend, possibly, yes.
Like, I mean, look. You're more than welcome to not be friends with as many women that you deem to be hoes as possible. I will guarantee you that the amount of people that they call hoes are probably like, oh, you've had more than 5. Oh, you must be a hoe. That sort of thing. Whatever. That being said, you know, if you're going to miss out on a various amount of, you know, friendships. I mean, I doubt these people view. They don't view women as real humans anyway, so the idea that they can actually be friends with anybody who's a woman is just laughable, to say the least. I mean, I doubt even these people who are married view their wives as their friends. They probably more likely view their wives as their property, and are probably part of the group of people who believe that women should obey, as we talked about just before. But still, the idea that I don't think these guys are capable of having friends at all because they don't have the empathy required for friendship. All of these people's relationships are strictly transactional. The guys that host the show and their male guests, because they would never have someone like me on, because, you know, all they have on these types of podcasts, or this particular one specifically, they have like OnlyFans models, which is fine. I don't give a shit if you're an OnlyFans model. More power to you. In fact, we've gone over some videos where there's an attorney who also has an OnlyFans who absolutely owned these manosphere types because she brought the truth, she brought the facts, she dropped the mic and everything like that. And I'm not going to judge somebody for having an OnlyFans. If you want, if you, again, if you're consenting to it, if something that you want to do and you're making money with it, more power to you. Make that bank. But, and I'm not gonna, and if you want to be friends with me, and I'm not gonna judge you for that. We're gonna probably have a better friendship than these people ever give you. In fact, I would treat, there's people who they've been horrible to who are OnlyFans folks, and probably the only reason that these OnlyFans models and actresses or whatever come on this show, the only reason they'll do it to deal with the abuse that they get on the show is because they know that the hypocritical men who spend hundreds of dollars to send super chats to the channel to be read and insult them are the same guys spending thousands of dollars every month to see their boobs. Because they know what side of their bread is buttered, right? Let's continue.
And what if she had a couple one-night stands? That's just what she does. Is that okay? Or...
But bro, look, you gotta understand, I'm in my mid-30s.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he is mid. I'll grant him that. He is mid.
Friendship is not a priority for me here.
And that's a damn shame. And that tells you everything you need to know about these type of people. That friendship's not a priority? What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? What's wrong with your parents who raised you? I mean, you were clearly not raised right if you don't believe that friendship is a priority. I love having friends. More friends, better.
Here and there,
they have one-night stands and you're still friends with them, so you could probably be friends with a woman who has a couple one-night stands, I'd say.
So if I'm like contemplating having a friendship...
Oh, so she's pointing out the hypocrisy of men having one-night stands versus women having one-night stands, which is a good point. Good argument there, again. But that's a little bit too intellectual for the people, for the men on this podcast, at least.
With a woman. And this friendship hinges on if she gets a boyfriend or gets married. The friendship could be strong, but if that friendship's going to be cut off because her boyfriend, who I think rightfully is going to have precedence over my friendship with her, why invest my time and energy into a friendship when there's like going to be a point when she gets married? There's going to be...
Sometimes friendships end, dude, and if for some reason y'all drift apart, that's okay. But, you know, I have somebody who we don't converse a lot. We actually said a few words the other day, but, you know, she was my best friend in college. We've kind of drifted apart, and I kind of wish that we wouldn't have or whatever, but, you know, I value the friendship and the time that we had together. I don't view it as, oh no, well, I no longer talk to her, so therefore it was a waste of my time. It was wonderful to be able to have the times that we spent as friends together because she was a friend. And look, if she came to town, you know, next week, I'd be like, yes, let's hang out. Let's rekindle that friendship. Let's invest more time in this. But life happens, and sometimes you do have family, and sometimes families do take precedence over other friends and other people, and that happens. And that happens with me. I'm sure some of the friends that people don't hang out with that I used to hang out with a bunch is because of the fact that I have a family, and it's not because I no longer have, you know, the desire or the want to hang out with them. Is because I have priorities that grow and shift with time. But the idea that the previous time spent with said people, because we no longer hang out as much or at all, it was a waste. I mean, maybe some people who turn out to be absolute asshats, sure. But everybody else, you know, it's just sometimes people just have separate lives and do other things, but it's not going to make me value the time, the friendship any less. But again, maybe that's another big difference between the left and the right, right? So this one's pretty much done, I think.
An impropriety for us to be friends.
I have a question.
It would be an impropriety for y'all to be friends. Yeah, it's not an impropriety to be friends because, you know, if now granted, I have somebody who I know that I would like to be friends with and I'd like to hang out with more, but her husband is not a fan of mine because we absolutely used to date it, and it's fine. And I'm not looking to date her now, but still, you know, the fact that it sucks that the husband is that controlling and doesn't want us to be friends, but whatever. He has low self-esteem. My wife's friends with plenty of people from her past. I'm not threatened by it at all. But, you know, some of us, maybe he's conservative too, and that's another difference, is that the fact that I don't feel the need to control the people who my wife is friends with. And conservative men often would, right? Anyway, let's move on to, we have 5 more of these left to go. Again, this is not from the Whatever podcast. This is from a completely, we haven't even dealt with this one yet. We haven't even dealt with this particular one, at least that I can recall. But let's go ahead and see what this gentleman has to say, shall we?
You will never know a woman until she has leverage on you. You could be with a woman 5-10 years. Until she has leverage on you, that's the only time you're going to know who she really is. When she gets pregnant or when you get married. That's when her true colors show. I'm so scared to ever let a woman get leverage on me. I had a friend, he was begging his baby mama, I'll send you $1,000 just to send me a picture of my child. Women wield power like a tyrant. You have to manufacture situations to test that woman before you get her pregnant, before you get married, because you will never know. You will never know.
Wow. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, can you imagine living life being that paranoid? Being that, worried about how all these horrible, evil women are just going to treat you? Maybe it's the fact that these people view women only as the exterior. These women only judge them by how they look and don't judge them by the content of their character. They don't judge them by their sense of humor, their intelligence, their abilities. They don't want women who are going to be independent. They want women who are going to be subservient and obey, like that study said. They want women who are not going to be out there and think that they don't need a man. They want people who are going to need them and want them, and as such, their relationships with women are going to be shallow. So if your relationships with people are going to be shallow, then don't be shocked when the only people that you find are shallow people to begin with. Again, these people create the problems. By limiting themselves to only people who fit their worldview, they are then creating situations where they're only getting to know people who are going to kind of fit that same sort of mindset. Where if you come into a potential relationship with somebody and don't treat them like they're some sort of zealous person who's just out for your money and out to have control over your life or whatever, and instead just get to know them as a person and a human being without all this lack of trust, you probably might find a good person who doesn't cause you to worry all like that. But you're going to sit there again. He has this one friend who had one situation where his one baby mama wanted him to pay a certain amount of money just so he could see his kids. So therefore, you're going to impugn all women because of the actions of this one, or the actions of a few. The reoccurring theme on tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, is the fact that, these people create these problems on their own. And these people are the ones who are constantly creating the problems that they're complaining about now. So if they weren't just such shit bags of human beings, they might actually find people who are worth a damn. But in order to find people who are worth a damn, you have to be somebody worth a damn yourself. Right? Let's go. Next one. Let's see. I saw part of this one. This one's hilarious.
Having your period is not a valid excuse for you to treat your man like shit. Your body...
Okay, I will start off and say that is correct. If you're having a situation with your body, whatever that situation is, whether it be that time of the month, whether it be some other medical issue, whether it be some other issue altogether, it's not an excuse to treat your partner like a piece of crap. But let's see where this one goes well south very quickly.
He is going through something that we will never understand. It does not mean shit on...
She's going through something we'll never understand. She's going through something that you'll never experience. But you can take the time to understand it. And you can take the time to actually understand that, maybe if my partner is going through something that is like with giving her cramps, maybe if my partner is going through something that, is causing her to feel bloated, is causing her to feel irritable, maybe you should learn and be more, have more empathy and actually, pay attention to what your partner is going through and try and help her out during times when she's not feeling well, be it for her cycle or be it for some other medical issue, or if it's just an emotional issue. Maybe have more empathy and not sit there and try and, I need to tiptoe around my wife because God, don't wake the beast or whatever, as they might say. But instead be like, hey, I know you're feeling bad today. What can I get you? How can I help you out? How can I make your day easier today? If you did that, then maybe she wouldn't stop. And maybe the reason that you're seeing this, of a person is not because she's treating you like shit because of her period. Maybe it's because you are treating her like shit for having a period. And then she's responding to your toxic behavior. But these people don't have the self-awareness to figure that shit out. Let's continue.
Us, yell at us, call us fucking names, and say that we are the problem in the household. Because they...
In the household, yeah. I mean, he might be from Middle Atlantic too for saying house. But anyway, yeah, maybe you're the asshole, not because of the fact of the period, but again, you are blaming her for her biological issues that she's having instead of trying to help your partner out. Again, I'm being very giving here by saying partner, because most of the people, most of the guys that do these types of podcasts, I reject the idea that they ever have a partner. They have people who they date, who they view as property, but they don't have partners. If they had partners, they would be understanding and nurturing and caring, and they would sit here and, again, instead of worrying about, oh, how it's that time of the month, it's Shark Week, how are we gonna dodge the sharks? Let's go down to the old pub instead, to cite a Stephen Lynch song. And instead, they'd be like, oh, what can I do to help you out today? Just as I would hope if I was feeling ill that my spouse would do the same thing, and she does. Because I actually married somebody who is a partner. They don't.
Then all that's going to do is cause a rift in the relationship, and then we don't give a fuck about your problems. And we don't want to...
No, you didn't give a fuck about their problems to begin with, and that's likely the problem, is the fact that you didn't give a fuck about the problems to begin with and treated them like shit for having a period, and as such, now she's mad at you, not because of her biological issues, but because you treated her like shit to begin with.
I hear about what's going on, and then the man doesn't want to learn about your period, and then you call...
I mean, it's 2026 now. I mean, we have the internet. You can learn about a period and how it affects an individual's body, and it's going to affect different people differently. And you could learn about it, and you could improve yourself, and you could grow, and you could actually take the time to learn about what your partner might be going through. So therefore, you can have a little bit of empathy. But that's funny. I shouldn't be expecting these people to have actual empathy, right?
Call him a piece of shit that he doesn't want to learn about what's going on with your body, but every time he comes around you, he gets his fucking head bit off. Control your goddamn emotions. You don't get...
Maybe you should control your goddamn emotions, because I'm sure you're approaching this situation again in this way.
To just feel a certain way and then attack people verbally and physically. Too bad.
That attitude is exactly why she's reacting to you in the way that she is. It's not because of her period. It's because you are coming at her with an attitude when she's already not feeling well. And if somebody came at me when I wasn't feeling well and was like and saying, oh, well, you know, said, oh, you have a cold, so therefore you're a piece of shit, like, I'd get upset too. But fortunately, my wife would never do that. Let's continue with the next one, shall we?
Do you understand why guys would have a problem with a woman with a high body count, though?
I know why. We've covered why men who worry about body counts don't like women with high body counts. It's because these men either are unwilling or incapable to bring any sort of A game in the bedroom and don't want a partner who knows that it could be vastly superior than what they're bringing. And as such, they're afraid that because they're so shallow and they only view relationships as transactional, that if they can, you know, if these women know that, oh, it can be better with these other people, that they're going to go leave or cheat. Because, you know, they know the 30 seconds of pleasure that they're bringing in the bedroom isn't worth a damn. So that's why they want people who are ignorant of that, who don't know just how good it can be in the bedroom. So that's why they want inexperienced people.
I think it's insecurity. Do they really want to have...
Exactly. It's insecurity. As I said, maybe that's a little more succinct than I put it. But again...
a woman that is just a virgin. Because she's not going to be good and she's going to have no experience.
They don't need you.
Now look, I'm not going to sit here and shame virginity either. If somebody chooses to be a virgin and waits till marriage, then that's their prerogative to do so. Now, I don't know how much... neither me or my wife were virgins when we got married. I don't think we would have been, and I wouldn't have expected her to be. That being said, you know, I'm not going to judge somebody who decides for themselves that they're going to be a wait till marriage to have sex. That's their prerogative. That's what they want to do. That's cool. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that somebody, you know, just because you don't have the experience, it doesn't mean you can't learn how to be fun in the bedroom. And just because, you know, whatever, some people might not want to date again. That's your prerogative if you don't want to date somebody who's a virgin either. That's fine. But still.
You to be good, though.
That's so boring. Isn't that
It's
boring?
not boring.
It's like you haven't been to it enough, that's why I like you. I think that's crazy. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
They don't find it unattractive that a woman would have inexperience because they feel like, you know, what's going to make that experience in the bedroom so powerful is not that she can bounce off the walls or knows all these tricks or knows all these sexual things.
Because they don't want that. They just need the 30 seconds to do a pump and dump, just like they do with their stocks.
oh, look, she's doing something like out of a porno. Then what's appealing is that she's really excited to be there for him. She's present. She's loyal. She's committed.
Just because somebody sleeps with a lot of people doesn't mean that they're not going to be loyal. Like, again, that's manosphere bullshit. Just because it happens to be a woman spouting it, it's still manosphere bullshit. Your past doesn't make you less loyal. It's ridiculous.
And he doesn't need her to be an acrobat. He just needs her to be loyal. Do you understand why, guys?
Again, and he's going to be worried with a higher body count that she's not going to be loyal because, again, he knows he only views relationships as transactional and as such is not going to want to, have to worry that this person is going to leave because he's only bringing 30 seconds of, again, pleasure. Jolie, exactly. If a woman doesn't have any experience, a guy can put in the least amount of effort and she won't know the difference. Exactly. But you've been listening to Liberal Dan Radio Talk from Life That's Right for a very long time now, clearly, because, we agree on that. Let's go to the next video, shall we? Oh, Jesus, this motherfucker.
Logic is not like Kung Fu. Your Kung Fu is not better than my Kung Fu. There is only one Kung Fu in this.
I mean, somebody can be better at Kung Fu than somebody else's Kung Fu. I mean, somebody's Kung Fu can absolutely be better than somebody else's Kung Fu. Now, it may all be the same Kung Fu, but maybe somebody's doing Kung Fu and somebody's doing Karate. But still, you can be better at it. Let's continue to see what this brain surgeon has to say.
Situation, there's only one logic.
Okay, if that's the way that you want to interpret logic, then...
No, that's the only way it can be.
That's
it's like
your
math.
way.
I wouldn't go on the whatever podcast to talk about logic.
Okay, here, let me demonstrate it for you. Can 2 plus 2 ever not equal 4?
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. How is that possible? Well, what if you're in base 3? What's base 3? Base 10 is what we normally use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Base 8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 0. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 11, 4, 12, 15, 16, 17, 20. So 1, 0 in base 8 is 8 in base 10. So if you had base 3, 2 plus 1 would be 10, and then 2 plus 2 would be 11. So yes, there are mathematical systems where 2 plus 2 is not 4, because in such a system like base 3, 4 doesn't exist. But this is the whatever podcast, so they probably say whatever about anything that might go against their worldview. Yeah, Ali Osher, LOL, base 3, too intellectual. I know. I'm sorry for being too intellectual for the conservative shitbags that are on the whatever podcast.
Like, if I were to, think about the logic of math, maybe there's someone who could come up with that.
Can 2 plus 2...
There's someone coming out. Me, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from life that's right. I didn't come up with base 3, but there's other ways in mathematical systems where you can have matrices and the certain rules will cause the addition of certain things to come out. And again, I was never that great at math to be able to have all of that information in my noggin or whatever. Some other person who is an expert mathematician might be able to give another example of how it might happen in a different sort of scenario, but my base 3 example is one that works. Now, granted, if you would have said 7 plus 7, then it would be much easier to explain it in base 8.
2 ever not equal 4?
Unless there's missing information,
What?
because 2 plus...
Yeah, unless there's missing information. Like, if you're in base 3 instead of base 10.
2, if there's missing information in the middle...
What do you mean? No, it literally... There is no... What missing information?
Logic is not like...
So, yeah, but there's lots of information that's missing between the heads of the men who are on the whatever podcast. That's the missing information. So, there you go. Anyway. Yeah, Steve, binary is easier to picture 0 or 1. Yes, exactly, because if he would have used, maybe he knew to not say 1 plus 1. Maybe he knew to not say, is there ever a time where 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2? And then you could say, yes, binary, because 1 plus 1 equals 1, 0 in binary. So that would have been something that could have been more readily accessible, especially to people who might have an understanding of computer science and bits and binary logic or whatever. So, but yeah, 2 plus 2 in base 3 is 11. Simple as that. last one of these that we're going to go over. Again, another one from the, I think I thought I had one from the Fresh and Fit guy. Maybe I just didn't want to hear from him. I don't know. But let's go.
Average women don't want average men. That's the problem I see.
I think it's because now the average woman is out earning and outperforming and higher educated than the man.
Probably. But again, what is an average woman and an average man to the whatever podcast versus the average woman and the average man in general society altogether, right? Because, you know, I mean, I don't know what these guys view themselves as to whether or not they think they're average, above average, or below average, or whatever. But what averages could be subjective based on what measurement you're using. You know, there's median, there's mode, there's, you know, but again, and then what are you average income, average looks, average this, average weight, average height? What average are you talking about? Are you mixing the averages all together to make a collection of averages? Or are you just being mean? Sorry, I had to make the joke again.
Than the average man. Okay, so I think that's the factor. I don't think it's attractiveness.
I do think it is also attractiveness. And but I would agree that it's all.
Well, he's gonna think it's attractiveness because again, they are purely transactional. They are purely looking at people from a physical nature. They look at people as higher value or lower value mainly on what they look like and not on anything else. Anything else is secondary to look wise. But do people want to date? People are going to want to date the people who they want to date. So if I look at somebody and I said, hey, I'm attracted to that person, I might want to date that person. As such, you know, is that person above average, below average? Again, I have been told by plenty of people that, you know, I've married up. I joke that I married up, but a lot of people will say, hey, Dan, look at your wife. You outkicked your coverage. Or they'll use some other things to basically say that I married up. And I agree with them. I did marry up. I have a heck of a wife. She's a wonderful person, and she's very cute, very attractive, and we're a very good fit together. That being said, I always make the joke that I married up, and I'm also make the self-deprecating jokes that, you know, she made a poor decision in marrying me, but, you know, at the end of the day, we love each other, and that's all that matters. But, you know, people are going to want to, now objective or subjectively, you're going to sit there and you might look at a woman and say that woman is trying to date somebody who is out of her league, but if she's successful in dating them, then was that person ever really out of their league to begin with? Huh? Anyway, let's continue listening to this bullshit.
Also socioeconomically too.
Yeah, and sure, in the 60s, our mothers or grandmothers used to settle for guys that maybe didn't check all the boxes because
Yep, exactly. I think we talked about that earlier.
they couldn't have a bank account. But now you can do all of the, you're not limited by that. We don't have to rely on men to survive in the same way that we did 50 years ago.
I'm not even making.
Yep. Well, you're not making that argument because, you know, you'll lose, or because, you know, once you allow that argument to take place, that you're going to understand that their point is that women used to have very attractive women dating schlub men because they had to marry or else they weren't going to survive because they couldn't be out there in the workforce most likely, and they were going to have lots of problems as a single woman in like 1950s or before society. Whereas nowadays, you don't have to settle. You can actually find somebody who you actually can find that will check most, if not all, of your boxes.
Making an argument
So your standards are going to be higher.
Right, but I'm not even making an argument about providing.
I'm saying that is.
But you're not making the argument about providing because you now understand that the ability to provide is less important in a society that has women able to live out there on their own by themselves and, you know, having their own checking accounts. So it's not relevant. So, you know, you can't make the argument because it's not a winning argument anymore.
Is why I think you're seeing a bigger disparity, because women don't need men. They don't need to settle for men who aren't checking all the boxes like they did 50 years ago. If you were a single woman 50 years ago, good luck, baby.
So women are deprioritizing the things that have traditionally made men attractive to women, and they're over-prioritizing what? Physical attractiveness.
No, they're not going just to physical attractiveness. That's not what they're basically saying. They don't have to settle, but not settling doesn't strictly just mean that it's just looks. Lots of other things. Like you could find somebody, you can wait for somebody who might have a good, you know, better attitude and outlook on life, who's, you know, be more motivated, have more drive, be somebody who makes you laugh and is funny. That sort of thing. Anyway, A church said, again, this conversation is very, very heteronormative. Some people, women don't even want to date dudes. I mean, we always make that statement a lot of the times when we're talking about this subject or the subjects that are brought up by the Whatever podcast. When we're dealing with the Whatever podcast and the unraveling toxic masculinity, often it deals with situations where you're discussing heteronormative relationships because that's the world that they live in. They don't even acknowledge or accept anything else as part of their worldview. So sometimes these conversations do get artificially restrained. And we do try and bring that up occasionally when discussing these things. And I think I did bring up the heteronormativity earlier on in one of the other videos or whatever. Let's see. If someone tells you that you married up, just sounds assholish. If you say it, that's just a compliment to your wife. So I don't know. Context matters too. I mean, it might be. And one of the guys that says I outkick my coverage can sometimes be a bit of an asshat as well. I'm not going to say that he's not. But some people might say that I'm an asshat every once in a while. So it is what it is, right? So, let's see what else. I missed something in here. None of these people on my phone can fish. That's the effing difference. Wait, what? Yeah, people are saying something about the fish simply because of the fact that, they're not seeing the chats or whatever. So let's go ahead and we can remove that. And there's some spinning fish right there. Look at that. Andrew would call me a woke soy boy cuckold for that comment. Probably. Let's see. Senator Monkey, I love binary. I can tell you exactly how your keyboard works through binary. I wouldn't even ask you on a date at 15. I wouldn't even ask you out on a date at 15. Though you wouldn't ask me out on a date when I was 15 or when you were 15 or talking to somebody else. What's interesting about binary is that you can count to 31 on one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever. I'm kind of doing it backwards in my hand versus looking at the screen. So, but yeah, you can count that high on, you can count the 31 on your hands using binary. There's some comment I missed or whatever. Godspeed says, I mean, there's not much reason to expect loyalty or to be the special one. However, I look at incentives, not just past behaviors. I mean, but granted, this is also a very, whatchamacallit, what's the other word I'm looking for? Not heteronormative, but not cis, what's the word I'm looking for? Not all relationships are monogamous, I should say. So there you go. So a lot of times you have multiple people in relationships, so you don't necessarily need that special one. There are plenty of people who are not in, or who are ethically non-monogamous, so to speak, or whatever. Let's see. I thought there was another comment up here that I wanted to comment on, but I think it might have scrolled too far up. By the way, I think Joel the fish is woke AF, which is why he didn't pop up during the whatever conversation. Joel was too disgusted. Well, they were also blocking the ability for it to get translated from Joel on either of these chat windows to the screen. So, Godspeed is the arch enemy. What do you mean? But you're the arch enemy. Jeff Curry, I married straight across the line. Like what? From Kansas? Let's see. I'm sticking to the narrative that Joel is woke. Fair enough. I mean, Godspeed shows that's how typically how it is. The Tinder analytics are out there for everyone to read. What Tinder analytics? It says what don't you need a man for? I mean, you shouldn't need a man for anything. You shouldn't need us for anything. You should want to be with somebody not because you need to be with them, but because you want to be with them. If there's a necessity that's based, especially one enforced by society, that requires you to be married to have better value, to have better outcomes, whatever, then that's a problem with society. Whereas if you are in a true relationship of choice where consent is key, then you have to basically be in a situation where it's not because you need to be with that person, but because you ultimately want to be with that person. So, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Pop quiz. Who said that? Oh, I can hear it. I can hear it, and I'm not putting it. Is that a Golden Girls line? Or did Jolie saying Jolie said it? No, it's not a Golden Girls line. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a. No, it is a guy that said it. Is it? Oh, who said it? You're gonna type the name of who said it, of the character who said it, and I'm gonna be like, God damn it, I know it was the whatever. It was a woman. Oh, that gets rid of half the possibilities right there, right? So, let's see. Big Hook, afraid, lucky in love never applied to me. Unfortunately, I have a beautiful daughter from a failed marriage, and she keeps me on my toes. It's good that you have a wonderful daughter from it. So, see, is Godspeed faster than the speed of light? If not, God is not all powerful. Well, Godspeed would be traveling at using the speed force, right? She's 91 currently, so it's definitely not a Golden Girl that said it. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle is a famous feminist slogan coined by Arena Dunn in 1970, highlighting that women do not need men for survival, fulfillment, or self-sufficiency. Was that the right person, or was there another more famous person that said it, though? I mean, I guess that's the question. Luck Dragon. What would you do, baby, without us? Anyway, did you know who sung that song? Who sung the Family Ties theme song? Gloria Steinem is the person I thought about. See, I thought it was somebody else too, but I mean, that makes sense. See, Godspeed, I'm a nerd, I know. Ooh, the wind is going out there. If you lose me, it's because I lost power because the wind is going very strong right now. So, yeah, who sung the Family Ties theme song? Yeah, I can't believe she's 91. Time really flies. Yeah, time flies. I can't. Anyway. It wasn't Carol Burnett that sang the theme song. Bono used it in a song. Or the woman, whatever fish, the fish thing or whatever, or what? I'm still waiting for somebody to answer the question, who sung the Family Ties theme song? Because that's hilarious. The answer to that is hilarious. But real quickly, I will give Big Hook the opportunity to call in if you want, or anybody else the opportunity to call in if they want as well. Because 562-LibDan1, 562-LibDan1, 562-542-3261. It was not Johnny Matthews who sang the Family Ties theme song. Pretty sure Pam Bundy sung the song. No, Pam Bundy did not sing the song. I'm happy you get the reference. Most people just assume I'm Christian. No, I'm aware of the Flash. So, but again, anybody else if you beat Big Hook calling in, you're free to beat Big Hook calling in. But I did want to. It's been 6 days since Big Hook has called in, maybe. So, miss you, Big Hook. You can call back in, and it doesn't look like Chad's in the chat. to do the $30 thing. I may change the $30 thing to maybe have it be like 10 minutes or whatever, or you can't do it until, you can't just pop it on immediately or whatever. Granted, I probably do want to stop the show at 11 regardless, so I mean, I'm still going to probably cut you off in 15 minutes at the most. But still, I did want to give anybody the opportunity to call in, to be able to call in, since I did mention it during the show introduction that I may very well open up the phone lines. So, nobody is able to guess who, whatever. Does the chat show up? I mean, I see your chat, Steven, on the YouTube chat. I'm not know if it's going to come up on the other one. Yes, it does show up on the screen as well. Oh, is it Johnny Matthews? Wait, maybe it's something else. Maybe it was somebody else that sang. Maybe I'm thinking of a different song. Was it Silver Spoons? No, it's Silver Spoons I'm thinking of. Hold on. Maybe it was the Silver Spoon song that I'm thinking of. Hold on. We've got to answer Big Hook. All right, Big Hook. What's going on? I think I was asking the wrong question. I was asking the Family Ties questions, but I think it's the Silver Spoons theme song that I was thinking of who sung that, because that one was the one that shocked me.
Not really sure. Wasn't really much of a Silver Spoons fan. I didn't really watch that much.
And it's not even that one. But
yeah, I don't know. I think the $30 thing is not really a good thing, because if anything, it's sort of a MAGA troll tax that Chad was using to his advantage, and that's the thing.
Maybe. I mean,
I was going to say something to you earlier about it, but the thing is that if this platform is about free speech and debate, that sort of defeats the purpose. That's the concern I have. So
I see your point, and I just I did get it. I mean, not because it was you, but I did get a kick out of it. Whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to find different ways to be creative, and if it worked for him, maybe it worked for whatchamacallit for Tommy. Maybe it is something that was a decent idea or whatever. Because I know there have been people.
But with
there have been. Yeah, go ahead.
But with Tommy, the thing is that many people could actually contribute and say to the, fund, and that's the thing. And that's the other thing is that somebody who has unlimited resources, and as in such a case with Chad, he would just basically plop the $30 in the second I called in, and what does that say? It's
right.
Like,
well, that's why I said 5 minutes, regardless of when you pay it. But for just a second, yeah, Luck Dragon, it's different strokes. It's the different strokes question I was asking. That's the singer that I was shocked that I heard the other day. The person who sang the Different Strokes theme song. When I heard who sung that, I was shook. But go ahead. We'll talk about that after we end this call. So, but go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
We had Rachel Maddow up here in Vancouver. She put out a little lecture that she did, and she said some very nice things about Vancouver, but she also said there's a high possibility that many of the intellectuals in the U.S. are going to be fleeing to Canada or whatever country will take them, because this whole thing, this dictatorship bullshit thing that Trump is attempting to do, and the thing is that it's looking really, really bad. You look at he's weakening all the alliances with all the allies. He's also weakening the system because of, and here comes the other question, which is he feeding intelligence to Putin as well? Because then Putin can go and pass it, and then Putin passes it on to the Iranians, who then basically go and destroy all the meaningful military infrastructure within the Middle East that everyone relies on to make sure that the whole house of cards doesn't come tumbling down. That's just it.
Why do you think the 10/7 attacks were successful? Because Trump gave that information to Putin, who gave it to Iran, who gave it to Hamas. That's how they were able to make such a successful attack, because Hamas was given the information of how to circumvent Israel's early warning systems. That's why that's why they were able to be as successful as they were, because of Trump.
Yeah,
but nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah, but I think Netanyahu played them. He basically allowed it to happen, and
he did that as well. That is also something else.
He needed the excuse to carry out the genocide that he's been doing on on Palestine. I mean, that's just it.
I mean, you're correct about that as well, and the fact that they got the intel that the attack was coming, and they allowed it to happen because it was better for him to politically to respond to an attack than it was for him to prevent an attack. Because you prevent an attack, you can't prove how bad it was going to be. If you respond to an attack, then you already know how bad it was, so therefore that justifies his terrible actions, or to him at least, it's going to justify his terrible actions. But still, they wouldn't have been able to even try it in the first place had Trump not leaked that information to Putin, that went to Iran, that then went to Hamas. So that's the point I'm making with that. So it's happened before. Why would we not expect it to happen again? I mean, many of the things that happened during the first Trump administration are happening again at an even greater amount. So,
yeah, but the problem is that Trump is now like launching wars on all fronts, whether it's Venezuela or he's going to take out a bunch of countries in South America. Because he seems to think that he should be dictator of the whole North and South American hemisphere. I mean. And, what has Cuba done to us?
They're commies, man. They're communists. We can't have communism because communism is the worst thing in the world.
Well, I mean, that's just it. Like, why pick a fight when there's no fight to be had? And that's just it, And then on top of that, he wants to push that stupid SAVE Act thing,
and then he wants to put trans issues in the thing about voting, which again, all that does is guarantee that you're not going to get the Democrat support needed to have it passed. So, which is what he wants. He wants to be able to say the Democrats won't pass this, whatever, because he's a con artist, so he knows how to run the con. I'll say it that way. He knows how to run a con. He knows how to fool the MAGA voters into thinking that the Democrats believe this one thing when in reality all he's doing is just putting poison pills in the bills so that they won't pass. Then he can use it as an excuse to take executive power because Congress won't act. And that's how you create fascist dictatorships. Lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You guys are really at a tipping point. I mean, you guys are at war. What's the other way via which he goes and decides to vindictively take out opposition? Oh, I know. Let's bring back the draft, and we'll take all those people that are against me and selectively put them, on the front lines to be killed. I mean, like. In a war that they object to and everything else, I mean, it's going to be like, I mean, Tom Hartman there said it the other day there. He said he's trying to create his own 9/11, and that's just it. I mean, I hate to think of the terrorist acts that are now going to be focused on Europe and North America because of this, I mean, that's just it, there was no thought, there was no thinking behind not only how do we perform a strike, but also how do we get out and what will be the after effects and who else does it affect besides us? And, and that's just it. And I mean, his number one selling point was, I'm going to get the price of gas to 50% of what it currently is now.
Right.
That never fucking happened.
No, and now it's skyrocketing. Now it's 90% higher than what it was 2 weeks ago.
I know, and I mean that's just it. I mean, for me, it means a tank of gas here is costing me an extra $10. We don't get off scot-free because of his actions either, not to mention the fact that, I mean, like, he didn't ask Congress for permission. He didn't ask anybody for anything. And now we find out that, all the other stuff that's going on and, where the military spending by Hegseth is completely out of line. I mean, spending all that money on lobster and ribeyes and, exorbitant extra expenses for what?
The military spent
thing.
more on crab legs or whatever on lobster in 1 month than it has like spent in a year on like trans surgeries on adults.
But you know, that's the thing. He has taken everything that gave America a good reputation as a policeman of global trade in the world,
right,
and completely dumped it. You know, he got rid of USAID. You know, he's going after people. He's stealing Venezuela's oil. He's obviously thinking he's going to steal Iran's oil. You know, but that strike on the oil refinery, what the fuck was that supposed to accomplish? You know, like, that's a nuclear bomb gone off there, you know? I mean, you know, Saddam went and he lit all the oil wells on fire in Kuwait as he exited.
Right.
You know, and in this case, Trump went and did it to them. And it's like, they weren't willing to do that. So, I mean, at this point, he's basically said, you know, this is a no-rules, bare-knuckle fight now, you know. And,
Can you imagine what would have happened if Joe Biden had attacked an oil refinery or whatever and caused, you know, a decrease in, you know, world oil supply and gasoline supply?
But that's the thing. Every accusation is a confession with these guys. You know, whatever they accuse us of is what they're actually going to do in the future. You know, I mean, like...
Every conservative accusation is a confession.
And I don't know where you go with this at this point. You've lost the trust of the rest of the world. Everybody thinks that at least half, if not, you know, perhaps it truly is just a third of your country because, I mean, I realize you have 90 million people who don't fucking vote and use the, you know, the democracy the way it's supposed to be used to the betterment of society, you know, and then you've got the corporate Democrats within your party there who went and fucked that up. I mean, what was it, 5 or 7 of them that went and voted along with Trump to
I think it was 7.
You know, to not
7 or 8
institute the War Reforms Act. I mean, you know, like, I don't know what you do. You've got an unworkable system that fucking fails at every turn. And, you know, the saying that, you know, we have a democratic republic, if we can keep it,
yep,
seems to be in doubt now. And, you know, and I don't know where that goes. Rachel talked about that, and she said there's a lot of opposition, but the question is what is it going to take to stop this? And then the other question is can you guys survive another 3 years of this?
It's going to be rough.
And imagine he lives past the 33 years and decides that he doesn't want to leave office.
Luck Dragon in the chat goes, I grew up with the fantasy that we could actually learn from our mistakes in history and evolve, and then 2024 happened, which is an accurate statement. Exactly. There are many people who don't learn. What was it? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, never get fooled again, or whatever George W. Bush said. That brain surgeon,
I mean,
of course.
that's just it. You guys have a history of electing the biggest criminals and dumbasses in history when it comes to Republican presidents. And you would think after 50 fucking years you would have learned. And then the other thing is that, you know, what's his name? Tom Nichols, I think, who wrote a book about how Americans ignore the experts who go out there and tell you how, you know, what you need to know and what you have to think something fully through before you act on anything, you know, and that's just it. Everything with the Republicans is shortcuts and bullshit, and using fear and anger and hatred, you know, at the worst of what America can become. And, you know, and you would think that all these people that voted for this would realize the shit you are standing in right now is of your own making. Because the Dems can look you in the eye and say, I didn't do this. It wasn't this bad when we were in power. And every time you guys win again, we always end up in the same place, up to our eyeballs in shit that needs to be dug out. And I don't know what to say anymore, because what's going to happen? You guys are already what, $40 trillion in debt, and it's expected at the rate that Trump's going, you're going to dig yourselves another $11 trillion in debt. At which point, the U.S. currency is no longer going to be the default currency of the world, and you know, you guys are going to be standing there all alone with nothing to stand on, because nobody's going to trust you.
Right.
You've lost your reputation. Your reputation is worthless at this point. You produce some very good, fine intellects.
They attack us for, you know, being tax and spend on the left, but then they stop taxing, but they still spend, and they spend more when they're on the right, and then we have to fix their problems, which means taxing more to kind of recoup whatever they lost, and then they complain about it again. Lather, rinse, repeat. Again, we never learn from our fucking mistakes. So anyway, we are at 11, so I did want to end the show shortly. So any other final thoughts before I make a few final comments for the show?
Best of luck, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I can't say anything that will affect anything, really. I mean, other than you got to take control of what's going to happen in your country next. And I don't know, you know, I mean, back in the day, I mean, we've had good presidents. You had JFK, who, you know, managed to not, you know, make the Cuban Missile Crisis turn into World War III.
Right.
And, you know, and what turned out from that? They went and they killed him. And It's like, for what? And then his brother came along, and you said, "Oh, well, he'll do the same thing. He'll keep us on the straight and narrow and make sure that we don't blow ourselves to kingdom come." And what did they do? They shot and killed him too.
Yep.
I mean, now the question is, I mean, I'm not saying it should happen, but you know, if history has taught us anything, and let's face it, I wouldn't want to be him right now, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of people with dark thoughts that are.
Oh, there are plenty of dark thoughts running through lots of people's head. Just, you know, if anybody wants to throw anything, just don't make it a draft beer, because he knows how to dodge a draft.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, I'm very conflicted right now. I'm very pessimistic. I wish I wasn't, but you know, the problem is that the shit has gotten so high that it's rolled across over into our border, and now we're starting to get a taste of it now too, because our costs are rising to the point where we can barely afford to live. So, you know, like, that's just it, you know, like, get your shit together and fix your stuff, so that way the rest of us who believe in sane governance can go on and live better lives, you know?
Right. Exactly. But we don't care about the rest of the world. We don't care about the rest of the world. We just care about ourselves, and we don't even do that well, because again, we elected Donald Trump president yet again. But then again, thank you so much, Big. I'm sorry I'm sorry, I got a little angry over for the hang up thing last time. Maybe we'll rework the policy of how it might work. Maybe I'll have to make it higher to make it or maybe I'll have to limit it to only certain people. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I just thought I thought Tommy had a clever way of raising more money for the show. But
yeah, but you got to remember, Tommy was on a budget, and Tommy had and the other thing is that Tommy was doing this against people who were dumb and who were spreading misinformation, and that's just it. Like, it's one thing to go out there and to say what you say, but I mean, to silence me because what I said was true.
I don't even think that was
sense.
behind. I think he was just. I did think he was just doing it to troll you. Honestly, I think he would have not held me to it if I would have let you call back or whatever. But I think by that time you already said you were going. But anyway, we are going to rethink the policy. We're coming up with new different ways to try and have fun in the show. Maybe less of that and more of other things. But I love you, man. I appreciate you calling into the show, and I always want to be able to talk to you. So.
I like calling in, and that's just it. I think people. I get nothing but compliments on what I have to say, and that I am taking their same thoughts and feelings and putting it into words and allowing it to spread on your platform, and many people are thankful for that, and I'm thankful for the platform as well. The question is how long will it last? Because the rate Trump's going, everything's going to be gone. CBS is going to be gone. CNN is going to be gone. I mean, how long do you think MSN now is going to last?
Right.
If he keeps doing what he's doing. And I mean, remember, he's still there for another 3 years unless, a blood clot
Team,
takes him
I
out,
was say, hashtag team blood clot. Let's just hope for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, appreciate you, man. We'll
Yeah.
be back on tomorrow. You can call back in tomorrow. I'm sure, depending on how much stuff we have to talk about tomorrow. I won't subject everybody to Anna and Pearl again another day. Maybe we'll do it a week or two from now or whatever, just to give a little bit of a break of this. But, again, there's reasons why I did that as well. But thank you so much for calling
everybody's
in.
looking for a distraction from the reality that right now is so dark and dismal and is affecting everybody's pocketbook as well as their resources, and they're going and I mean, everybody is falling into a state of despair, and it's like, and you've got nobody to blame but the people with all the Trump flags and MAGA hats out there, and they can't understand why you're so angry at him. He's making America great again, and it's like, no, he isn't. Anyway.
Leave it back. Again, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. You have a good rest of your night, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great one, man.
Okay, thanks.
All right. All right, big hook, everyone. We are going to go ahead and turn on the Do Not Disturb and hang up on the call. What the hell was that? 250 kilo ohm. I was like, are you trying to type pi? But that clearly isn't 3.1415926. So that's clearly not pi. 250 kilo ohm is having issues. There's some words there. Poif. Interesting. Anyway. The point I made, for those of you that don't know that different Strokes theme songs are, now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come two. They got nothing but their genes, but they got different strokes it takes. Different strokes it takes. Different strokes to move the world. Anyway, so the person who sung that, it was Alan Thicke from Family Ties. That's where I got confused. So when I heard the other day that it was Alan Thicke that actually sung that song, I was like, what? That's nuts. I didn't realize that his son wasn't the only singer that was out there. So, anyway, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about or whatever? Oh, I wanted to make sure to play, how are we going to be successful as a country when we have this person as our president?
Here we go. Let's do it the hard way. But the hard way, I think, is probably the easy way.
What was that?
The hard way, I think, is probably the easy way. But
What?
the hard way, I think, is probably the easy way.
Right, and
I said, well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen.
Now, give it. I would say give it the ye old college try, but he probably paid money to get through college anyway to begin with, and whatever. So, whatchamacallit, was it Luck Dragon? If you buy a house for $360,000, the fact that the house is actually only worth $83,000, it's just all wall. Interesting. Yep. Jolie, are you bored? Maybe. Jolie likes to put a lot of the fish up there, but anyway. We are going to end this episode of my keyboard or something. Samsung is doing extra characters. I hate when that happens with my Samsung as well. But we're going to end today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right. I was going to try and do some video processing today, put up the second episode of the Political Tower of Power that we already did record because we recorded 2 yesterday, but I only uploaded 1. We'll see. I have other videos that I do want to produce as well. We'll see about that as well. There's 2 in the hopper for Liberal Dan U that need to be edited. Just put the beginning screen, the end screen, and maybe 1 or 2 edits in the middle of it where they give a weird image to try and get rid of the typos or whatever. So there's at least 3 videos that I have waiting to have to push out, and I have to put up Jennifer's video as well. So I may very well maybe do that one. Maybe I'll do at least some of those tomorrow. Anyway, or Big Hook, thanks everyone for allowing me to vent. I wish I could be more optimistic. You guys have a real dilemma on your hands. It is a pickle, that's for damn sure. It is definitely a very fishy situation, and not just because of Joel. Anyway, so, you Semites is what? I don't understand what that is. What you talk about with their 250 kilo ohm. But appreciate your support as being a regular subscriber over there on Twitch. So, anyway, thank y'all. Oh, what was that? There was one other thing I wanted to, maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow if I remember. Remind me to talk about tomorrow my issue with the Midas Touch thing, with their reporting on Marjorie Taylor Greene's special election and how there's going to be a runoff and how they made something to seem more amazing than it probably has any business being, because numbers are hard, I guess, to some people. So, Trump couldn't pronounce Yosemites and said Yosemites. Yeah, okay, there you go. Luck Dragon, the stream is now over. Get out, get to the chopper, do it now. We know the stream is over because Jolie's posting all the fish, just a gigantic wall of fish, or wall of Joels, rotating Joels on the screen. Anyway, so thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all. Have a great one. We will. Again, see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central here, Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Any of the new videos that you like, any of the new series that you like, let me know. If you have ideas of videos that you want me to make, let me know and I'll make them. I have no problem spitting out. I mean, Jolie's done a great job of suggesting videos, and I'll put them up like that. I have another 2. One of them is the myth of states' rights. The other one is the party switch. So I have videos on those, but those aren't necessarily ones that have to come out today. So I want to have a bunch of them in the hopper so I can just, spit more out, etc. So thanks everybody. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one. And we will talk to you later. We'll start off the break this time with Atrocious at Every Game's favorite song, Peace.
Trump did it, so it must be
treason if Joe's the name? Is patriotism when Donald's to blame? Had Biden done it, I don't flip. Had Biden done it, more numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
He said nobody who healthcare could be so complicated. The Obamacare debate was 6 months litigated. Years of med school debt got capitalized. Insurance claim forms so high they nearly capsized. But he wouldn't know the frustration of trying to get prior authorization. Everybody knew, the whole world knew, the doctors, the lawyers, the CBO crew. Oh, 30,000 pages already reviewed. It wasn't a big secret, we knew. Don't realize Obama deported, but the porter-in-chief is what La Raza retorted. Obama went after the violent folks and felons, Trump nabbed the dishwashers and people picking melons. But Obama's argument shows that he's not very bright. If Obama made some wrongs, 2 wrongs don't make a right. We knew. He asked who knew a virus could be so contagious. Virologists blinked at someone so outrageous. He was surprised at how many countries existed. No wonder when the virus spread, he's the one who missed it. Spread them out, slit red in every deadly hue. World Health Memo said we already knew. Everybody knew. Oh, the whole world knew. Oh, the lab coats, the leaders, and we were with the flu. Oh, the nations of the world, more than 192. It wasn't a big secret. We knew. You unveil oxygen like contraband air. Like 6 there. You sat down, claiming to discover chairs. War called money was this big surprise. Iraq has oil, can you believe your eyes? He said, we are divided, a surprise to no one thinking. And he was most surprised, a Republican was Lincoln. Everybody knew, the whole world knew. The Christians, the Muslims, atheists, and the Jews. Like being shot, they have animals at the zoo. It wasn't a big secret. We knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew.
Trump said he'd stop forever wars, and peace is what he'd send. He said we'd measure his success by every war he'd end. In Gaza, he'd protect the people. War crimes he would He said he was a man of peace, like no one's seen before. But there's a piece of something he simply can't ignore. But what's the final goal? His holy breast ring. Does he want a piece or does he want the whole thing?
He wants a piece of Gaza, cause it's strategic ground. But when he redevelops it, where will Gazans be found? Attacked Iran's nuclear program, wanting to bring calm. But when given another chance, he's dropped another bomb.
You said he was a man of peace, like no one's seen before. But then he sent an armada to Venezuela's shore.
Peace was what he claimed to want, a carrot on a string.
But how can one be peacemaker
when one wants to be king? He wants a piece of the courts till the rulings lean. A piece of all the media till truth cannot be seen.
a piece of the land to the north,
A huge 51st state.
a piece of that land of green,
He thinks that would be great.
a piece of that Nobel Award,
A very peaceful pride.
a piece of every nation,
Cutting them up like pie.
a piece of all of our tax dollars,
10 billion
in a suit, a piece of every human,
including me and you.
Said he was a man of peace, like no one's seen before. But then he turned the DOD and made it one of war.
When it comes to Donald Trump, remember this one thing. He never wanted just a piece. He wanted the whole thing.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no door can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Stop the testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Boxes of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't be. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaos in secret and NDA signing a legal bribe. Michael Cohen didn't get, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.